What's up guys, this is your favorite fanfic YouTuber, the Fanfic Majesty, and welcome to another amazing video. You can follow me on Patreon for exclusive stories. 5 hectoseconds Chapter 85 Senju Chongsheng already has the coordinates of the JoJo world. If he wants to pass, it is very easy. Even if Kira Jiying returns to his own world, Senju Chongsheng will have a way to kill him in the past, so there is no need to be too anxious. Senju Chongsheng glanced around the silence, drank the champagne in his hand, and placed the quilt on the fence on the balcony. There was a little embarrassment on his face. He wanted to try first if he could say the second line of the second sentence. If you can't tell, I'm afraid I can only give up the ability to stand in and kill Kira Jiying directly. After checking again and again, I found that there was no one around. Senju Chongsheng's eyes glowed with golden light, and the invisible power began to waft out of him. Blast, burst. The corners of his mouth twitched slightly, his face flushed a little, and he couldn't say anything behind. The golden light in his pupils also began to flicker and gradually dissipated. Call out. Suddenly, a figure suddenly appeared next to Senju Chongsheng, making his face easily stiff. Surprise. The visitor was a young man, who looked about the same age as Wanda. His appearance was in an instant, and his speed was as fast as ultimate. Except for Senju Chongsheng, almost no one was able to capture his figure. There is no doubt that this person is Wanda's younger brother, the mutant Petro. His superpower is speed, with a speed of 700,000 kilometers per hour. What's the matter with you, old man? Sorry, I just want to have a special way to say hello. Petro saw that Senju Chongsheng's face was not right, and suddenly he looked like a child who made mistakes. My name is Pietro. Did you scare you just now? I'm very sorry, Pietro apologized, showing embarrassment. Senju Chongsheng smiled and pretended to be calm and said, My name is Senju Chongsheng. Senju Chongsheng? Oh, I know, you are Mr. Immortal, you are. When Pietro ran over, he seemed to hear some strange words, but it was too short, and he didn't understand what the person was doing. The reason why he ran over was really just saying hello. It's nothing, I'm just practicing the languages of other worlds. I see, Petro nodded, looking suddenly realized. No wonder he didn't understand Senju Chongsheng's words just now, it turned out not to be the language of this world. Does it really exist in other worlds? I really want to go and take a look. I heard that you have the ability to travel through other worlds. Have you ever seen someone faster than me? Pietro seems to be very interested in Senju. Senju Chongsheng thought for a while and smiled. Of course, I have seen a guy called the Flash. He also said that he is the fastest man in the world. Oh, then he must have never seen me. I am definitely faster than him, Pietro smiled. That's not necessarily true, that guy's speed, but surpasses the speed of light. Senju Chongsheng smiled mysteriously. Not only that, there are many people who are faster than him. The Flash Barry Allen, who claims to be the fastest man, indeed surpasses the speed of light, and can even run into the future and out of the universe. But every episode is faster than him. There are so many people faster than me. Is it true or not? Pietro said in disbelief. So far, he has never seen anyone able to keep up with him. But when it came to Senju Chongsheng, there were so many people who were faster than him. If there is a chance, I will let you race around, Senju Chongsheng smiled. As for this opportunity, it also depends on fate. The ghost knows whether the speed people in the Flash will enter the chat group. The 10,000 Realms chat group connects thousands of worlds, and he doesn't know who will come in. What about you, can you keep up with me? Pietro said jokingly. Although there may be people who are faster than him in other worlds, as long as there is no one who is faster than him, then he is the fastest man. Hearing this, Senju can't help but raise his brow. It seems that Pietro has not been taught, so he is a little arrogant. My speed is definitely higher than you, Senju said leisurely. The speed of the cultivator can be tens of thousands of miles in a flash. With the great strength of him, the speed decision is higher than that of Pietro. Oh, you are faster than me. Then we compare. How about who ran to the Starrk group first? Pietro smiled and pointed to the tall building in the distance. He wanted Senju Chongsheng to take a look. What is the fastest man? In order to show sincerity, it is naturally impossible for the dinner party to be in the Starrk building. So Fred found a big castle and held this grand dinner, which was still a little away from the Starrk group. Although the Starrk group can be seen from here, it is very small and it is almost difficult to see clearly. Alright, then gather on the top floor of the Starrk group. The dinner is almost over, it's time to go back to practice. After so many years, Senju Chongsheng has already developed a practice habit and will never be disturbed by anything. As for the two women, Hinata and Tsunade, let them enjoy the food and feast here. After all, they are also the first time in this world. At the moment Senju Chongsheng's voice fell, Pietro's eyes condensed, and the surrounding scene slowed down at this moment, and the voice also quieted down. His body moved like an afterimage, and while running downstairs, he smiled and glanced at Senju Chongsheng. I thought that the other party would be stunned in place, looking at the light still looking forward. As a result, I was surprised to find that Senju Chongsheng turned his head and looked at him with a faint smile. In the next moment Pietro was already downstairs, running at full speed, almost surpassing the speed of sound. But when he ran, he saw a figure suddenly appeared in the sky. Call out. The opponent was like a sharp arrow passing over his head, and disappeared into his field of vision in the blink of an eye. How can it be? Pietro almost fell to the ground in fright. When he activated his superpowers, everything around him slowed down. As a result, not only did the opponent show no signs of slowing down, but the speed was even faster than his. Fuck is outrageous, can actually fly. This made Pietro feel very embarrassed. He felt that he just now was like a primitive man, saying to a pilot, I want to compare the speed with your plane, so embarrassing. Could it be that in other worlds, there are really many people who are faster than me? Pietro finally had to pay attention to this issue, and in order to find out, he speeded up again, running blushing. He rushed all the way to the Starrk group, and because there was no identity verification, he could only get through the inspection. Follow the stairs all the way to the highest level. When he stopped, he finally saw Senju Chongsheng in the living room. Next to it is a beautiful woman with long legs in black silk, who is playing with a small machine. Thank you for reading this story at mtlarchive.com. Your support enables us to keep the site running. Chapter 86 The Four Greatest Consummations. Shiyu Shajichu is a talented woman herself. Seeing the high-tech equipment Tony throws on the table at will, she immediately fiddled with it with curiosity. The more you study, the more you feel the subtlety of these technologies. It made her want to abandon the book and go to school. Write romance novels? Writing a fart novel seems to be more interesting to engage in black technology. Just when she was playing, Senju Chongsheng suddenly appeared next to her, scared that she almost dropped the instrument in her hand to the ground. When she saw that it was Senju Chongsheng, she couldn't help but muttered, why did you come back suddenly and didn't say hello? It was almost terrifying. Senju Chongsheng flew in directly from the tarmac, sat on the soft sofa, and couldn't help but curiously said, I want to ask you instead, didn't you go to the dinner with us? When did you come back? He clearly remembered that Shajiju Shiyu followed them to the Shield Bureau for a dinner party, and was dressed very sexy and beautiful. I was full, so I asked Mr. Tony to send me back. As a result, he directly let the artificial intelligence control the armor and sent me back. Shajiju Shiyu smiled and continued to fiddle with the instrument in his hand, even taking apart a few parts, and then reinstalling them perfectly. This scene also made Senju Chongsheng a little stunned. Shiyu Shajichu seems to be a little talented in science and technology. Do you want to teach her? Maybe you will find different talent points like Hinata? Just as he was about to start, Pietro finally flashed out and came to the two of them. This time, Shajiju Shiyu was finally too frightened to hold it firmly, and the precision instrument in his hand fell directly to the ground, breaking several parts. Oh! Shajiju Shiyu covered her head with her hand, and exclaimed in panic. She cautiously picked up the parts on the ground and tried to assemble them somewhat at a loss. Even the sudden appearance of Pietro was ignored by her. Quite fast, how did you do it? Pietro asked with a slight breath, sternly. You don't need to know this. You have been discovered by the Starrk group now. Go ahead. I don't have the ability to order the Starrk group bodyguards. There are many speed people in the world. Although you are not in this world, you can't be too proud of it. Senju Chongsheng gave a faint smile and did not answer Pietro's question. Although the bodyguards won't do anything to Pietro, there will be a lot of trouble, so it's better to let him leave first. Okay, see you tomorrow. You must tell me how to do it, I want to learn. Pietro nodded earnestly, then his figure flashed and disappeared again. After a while, the bodyguards rushed up, but they received a message from Jarvis that the people had already left, and a group of people reluctantly retreated. Tony Stark's home. Shajiju Shiyu said with a panic. Group leader, you have to help me. If Mr. Tony wants to know, he will definitely scold me. She was like an antique that accidentally ruined other people's homes, panicking at the moment. Although she didn't know what this instrument was, it looked exquisite at first glance. If it is a valuable item, even if the two parties are friends, they will inevitably be reprimanded. Don't worry, Tony won't blame you. If you feel bad, I can draw a drawing for you. Whether it can be fixed is up to you. Senju Chongsheng smiled. The so-called instrument in front of him is nothing more than a small pusher. Soon he took out paper and pen and started painting at an astonishing speed. The reason why I didn't directly help Shajichu Shiyu fix it is to test whether she has any mechanical talents. In less than a minute, the drawing was completed by Senju Chongsheng, and then handed it to Kasumigoka Shiyu. Look at it slowly, I'll go back to my room to practice. Thank you, moi. Shajiju Shiyu sent another kiss. Senju Chongsheng waved his hand, walked back to the room without looking back, and began to meditate. Ding! Yi Fan uploaded the Hungyu scripture quadruple scroll. Quadruple? Is it finally here? Senju Chongsheng was overjoyed. Since Yi Fan uploaded the Taogong scroll of the Western Emperor Sutra, he has never uploaded any exercises. As the Great Venerable Realm, he has long since cultivated all the 5 god tiers in the Taoist Palace to Dzogchen. There are 5 god tiers in the Taoist Palace, namely, the god of the heart, the god of the liver, the god of the spleen, the god of the lungs, and the god of the kidneys. It also corresponds to the attributes of the 5 elements: fire, wood, soil, gold, and water. After all is consummated, you can enter the next realm, the 4 poles. It's a pity that the flow rate is different between planes and worlds. Senju Chongsheng doesn't know when Yi Fan will get the next level of practice. After all, Yi Fan is a pure casual cultivator in the world of Zishan. The cultivation technique of each realm must rely on him to find and obtain. The most important thing is that Yi Fan pursues the strongest way, so in each of his realms, he must choose the strongest scripture. It also led to a new practice between each realm. Now that I saw the quadruple volume, Senju Chongsheng did not hesitate to click to download it. The four-pole realm cultivation method began to appear in his mind, and a large amount of spiritual energy surged into his body. The aura of the Marvel world is still very abundant, although there are not as many ninja, but it is not bad. Tao Palace cultivates the 5 internal organs of the body. Then the 4 poles are cultivated in the limbs of the human body. They are left arm, left leg, and right leg. There is no requirement for the training sequence, and for Senju Chongsheng, the 4 extremes can be completed in one night in the 4 extreme realm. The order of cultivation is not important to him at all. According to the aura of the quadruple scroll, Senju Chongsheng felt a warm current rushing into his right arm, which was a little itchy. But what followed was an unparalleled sense of power. It seems that endless power is flooding the arm, and one hand can tear open the world and burst the starry sky with one punch. The energy in the body is getting more and more abundant, especially the limbs have been completely filled with spiritual energy, and every gesture can open mountains and cracks. The 4 poles strengthened my limbs and made my strength go to the next level. When matched with the idols, I am afraid that even Saitama can't bear it. Senju Chongsheng slowly opened his eyes, and his whole body exuded vast majesty. Obviously there is no change before and after, but at this moment it gives people a sense of difference. Even if the second system enters the 4 poles, my immortality cannot break through. Is it because the realm and strength are still insufficient? Seeing that there is no sign of a breakthrough, Senju can't help but frown. He has been in the great venerable realm for several years, but there is no sign of breakthrough. At this level, the so-called medicinal pills have very few effects. He can only rely on his own absorption of spiritual energy to promote the growth of his cultivation. Thank you for reading this story at mtlarchive.com. Your support enables us to keep the site running. Chapter 87 Marvel Live Tony Stark's home. Senju sits cross-legged, looking inside the whole body meridians. The whole body is crystal clear like glass. The rich aura is like the waves surging, but he still hasn't been able to touch the next realm. Maybe you need to continue to practice, or you can get a higher level of cultivation technique in the world of Zishan before you can achieve a breakthrough in your realm. As it progresses, the requirement for a breakthrough in the realm becomes more difficult. For this single, Senju Chongsheng had already been mentally prepared. It's just that I got used to flying and suddenly changed to walking. The morning sun also came in from the window and spilled on Senju Jiangsang. System sign in. Open black lens bracket ding. Tony Stark successfully signed in at his home. Congratulations on getting a box of delicious fresh milk. Close black lens bracket. Senju could not help but shook his head with a wry smile when he heard the system prompt. Repeated check in location rewards, almost nothing good. He didn't understand what he was expecting. Out of the room, the 2 little maids, Ram and Lem, were already busy in the kitchen. Beatrice sits elegantly in a chair, reading the newspaper and sipping coffee, very leisurely. And next to her is Shajiju Shiyu. From her somewhat messy hair, it can be seen that she hasn't slept all night. But there was no exhaustion on his delicate face, and even an infatuated smile. She was tinkering with the piles of parts and instruments on the ground with excitement. Even if Senju Chongsheng walked to her side, he ignored it. What's wrong with her? Is she stupid? Senju Chongsheng reached out and grabbed a piece of breakfast bread in front of Beatrice, and asked as he ate it. When we came back, we saw that she was studying the drawings, so Tony brought her a box of parts and drawings, and said to play casually, and then she was like that. Beatrice took a sip of the fragrant coffee and replied casually. Hearing that, Senju Chongsheng understands. It turned out that Shajiju Shiyu was obsessed with mechanical disassembly, and then looked at the small propeller not far from her. Wasn't it the one she broke last night? Shajiju Shiyu not only repaired this thing, but also began to study other technological blueprints. The overnight progress surpassed Senju Chongsheng's imagination. This guy won't become the second-generation Iron Man? After Senju Chongsheng made a joke in his heart, he immediately sat down and began to slowly taste the morning Rem and Ram made. The others also came out one after another. All of them were members of the chat group. By the way, where is Kira Jiying? Senju Chongsheng looked around for a week and saw his apprentices and group members, but Kira Jiying was the only one missing. His heart can't help but sink a little. If Kira Jiying didn't follow the big army, it would be a little bad. What if you can't control it on the street and kill someone directly? After the dinner last night, he was found by Fury, and he hasn't come back now. Beatrice didn't care too much about this person. Although the opponent had an invisible ability, Beatrice instantly saw the weakness. That is the attack distance. At that time, she had watched the process of Kira Jiying bombing the hammer, and discovered that this person first approached the opponent before launching the explosion. Of course, what Beatrice didn't know was that Kira Jiying also had a second bomb, which could chase the enemy remotely. Were found by Fury? I hope it's okay, Senju murmured. What can he do? This person looks so cautious, and has a wicked atmosphere, and he will definitely not suffer. I'm talking about Fury, Beatrice. It seems that she still doesn't know enough about Kirajiing. Speaking of Kirajiing, what on earth deserves Mr. Immortal's attention so much? Is it hidden in strength? Don't look at me all the time, I might as well say it straight. Kirajiing has some problems. Girls have to be careful, this person is far more dangerous than you think. Senju Chongsheng frowned, and solemnly reminded. Don't look at Kirajiing himself as a weak chicken, but his invisible stand-in is enough to kill a large number of heroes in the Marvel world. In the 10,000 Realms chat group, anyone who is targeted by Mr. Immortal will definitely not end well. Acedes is the first one. At this time, Tony walked out of the room and the first thing was to flatter Senju for a long time. Everyone didn't react too much, obviously they had become accustomed to Tony's immortal blow. By the way, Fury sent a message just now that he has found traces of Ultron and can now set off. Tony also picked up the breakfast bread, finished 2 or 3 bites, and then took a bite of fresh milk, ready to fight. Senju Chongsheng also stood up and said to Tsunade and Hinata, you two stay here, and protect Kasumigo Shiba by the way. After all, he condensed aura at his fingertips and drew a defensive magic circle and a teleportation magic circle in the building. If the magic circle here is attacked, Senju Chongsheng can directly teleport back. Friends, please follow me. There was a clanging sound, and Tony Stark's body was squirming mechanically, like a small animal climbing on his body, and finally covered his whole body. The immortal armor is finished. At this moment, Tony Stark looks vigorous, although he has a mechanical body, it does not appear bulky or even a little clever. The long knife at the waist is made of Edmund alloy and exudes a sharp cold light. I saw him running toward the tarmac, leaping vigorously, and a light blue flame glowed from his body. Tony added countless propellers to this suit. Although the size is only nanometers, the propelling effect is particularly terrifying. So that he can have a teleportation speed in an instant. In the blink of an eye, he disappeared into the eyes of everyone. Ram and Lem were a little at a loss. Beatrice released the magic directly, and took the 2 little maids into the air to follow them in the direction of Tony Stark. Senju Chongsheng did not froze, and after a slight nod to Tsunade and others, his body instantly disappeared from where he was. Ding! The mission begins, and the live broadcast view of all members has been opened. 4 live images appeared in the chat group at this moment. In a certain city, a 4-meter-high mechanical figure was marching forward violently. Wherever it passed, there was a violent sound. A large number of mortals died in the artillery fire, with nowhere to hide. Behind is a densely packed mechanical army, relentlessly harvesting human lives. It is to eliminate human artificial intelligence Ultron. He has created a perfect mechanical body for himself. The whole body is made of Edmund alloy, which is extremely hard and has strong self-healing ability. It can be said that he is almost immortal at this moment. Call out! Call out! Call out! Suddenly, hundreds of tiny missiles fired in abruptly, bringing up long strips of smoke. The roar suddenly sounded, and all the missiles hit Ultron's mechanical body, bursting out a strong fire. Tony Stark fell from the sky, and at the moment he landed, he directly pulled out the Edmund alloy long knife at his waist. Suddenly, he burst out with blue light all over his body, and while advancing his figure, blue and white water waves bloomed on the long knife. Wow! The breath of water, the shape of one, the water surface slash. Thank you for reading this story at mtlarchive.com. Your support enables us to keep the site running. Chapter 88 Era of Ultron, Rocky Army. The breath of water, the shape of one, the water surface slash. In the city of Sokovia, Tony rides the immortal armor, blue and white water waves bloom on the Edmund alloy knife, and a beautiful wave in the air. Wow! The sharp sword aura rippled with the water, and Tony used a set of sword swings exactly the same as Senju Chongsheng. Ultron slowly walked out of the aftermath of the missile, his mechanical body intact. Tony swung his long knife and smashed Ultron's neck with a wave of water. The clanging humming sound suddenly sounded, and the collision between Edmund alloys produced a starlight spark. Because of the blessing of the breathing method, Tony's long knife successfully cut open the neck of Ultron, but it could not cut off the entire head. In addition, Ultron is a robot and has extremely strong self-healing ability. After less than half a breath, it returns to its original state again. Robot. No, it's you, Iron Man Tony Stark. Ultron twisted his head and suddenly shot 2 red lasers from his mechanical pupils. Laugh. Tony was directly hit by the laser, and waves of shock ripples appeared on the armor suit. Boom. With a wave of Ultron's arm, the energy impact overturned the ground, pressing the front to Tony Stark. Tony Stark, who had just flew out and smashed a ruined building, was buried by the earth before he changed his mind. Body replacement technique. After Ninjutsu was activated, Tony Stark's original location was replaced by a boulder. And Tony Stark himself came 200 meters away, and the Dark Center was startled. Fortunately, his suit armor is very tough, otherwise the shock just now would have penetrated him. It's really embarrassing, Tony. Beatrice brought Ram and Lem down from the sky, slowly landing. Ultron ignored the entry of these people at all, raised his palm, and an orange laser shot out from his palm. Beatrice supported her small hand, and a huge emerald magic circle appeared suddenly, and a laser collided with the magic circle to give a strong light. The scene was as gorgeous as a duel of a magician with brilliant light. Ahem. It was an accident just now, the function of the immortal armor is a bit rusty, Tony said embarrassingly. With a slight movement of his arm, a shrinking scroll was ejected from his wrist in vain, and then he slammed it on the ground. Puff! 2 masses of white smoke rose, and 2 Tonys wearing immortal armors all appeared suddenly. Shadow clone technique. 3 Tony Stark rushed to Ultron at the same time, and the nanopropellers all over his body exploded, causing his figure to drag out several afterimages. The 3 silhouettes simultaneously used breathing swords, and the blue and white waves drawn beautiful lines to carry out a 4-way lure on Ultron. Ultron, who was confronting Beatrice, was not afraid. He raised his leg and shook, and at the same time the earth trembled, and energy shock waves suddenly burst out of his body. The running Tony Stark's figure suddenly stopped. With a hum, the luster in the immortal armor began to fade. The same is true for the other 2 figures. They seemed to have fallen on the way and fell into Ultron's rebellion. Ultron directly kicked and stepped on the 2 clones into smoke. Strange ability, but unfortunately it doesn't have much effect, Ultron said lightly. Jarvis, turn on the backup energy, Tony shouted without hesitation. Good Mr. Tony. Once the energy is cut off, the backup power supply in the immortal armor will turn on Jarvis in an offline state. But Ultron clearly understood the steel jersey, and he punched Tony directly, so powerful that he drove the gust of wind. I want to destroy Tony's armor before it starts, boom. It's between this electric light and flint. A green figure fell from the sky and hit Ultron head on. Hulk was hit by Ultron's shockwave and flew into the ruins head on, looking very embarrassed. Damn it, it seems a bit too strong. Seeing that Hulk was beaten with a punch, Tony Stark immediately felt the horror of Ultron. After the armor was restored, he retreated immediately. It seems that Mang is reckless. He thought that the immortal armor he had built was enough to deal with many enemies. But now I discovered that it doesn't seem to be the case. Although your armor is very powerful, you can even use ninjutsu and breathing techniques, but these things are not suitable for you. At this time, Senju Zhongsheng slowly landed, and the Black Widow Natasha was also put down by him in the form of a princess. The Hulk just now was what he saw on the road. At that time Hulk was running on the road with Natasha on his back, so Senju Zhongsheng directly grabbed Hulk with one hand, and flew over with Natasha with the other hand. Not for me. Why do you say that? Tony stood up and asked. Because I practiced these things, and you haven't practiced them. I can think of ninjutsu for the first time, but you can't. Senju Zhongsheng seemed to be unable to see the surrounding situation, and said leisurely, if I were you, I would use the body replacement technique just now to avoid the shockwave. Tony only used the body replacement technique at the back, and it was obvious that he was shocked by the laser because he was stunned in the front. He hoped that his words could persuade Tony to develop immortal armor. Other people's things are always other people's, although immortal armor is also armor and belongs to Tony's domain. But the things released by the immortal armor were not something Tony could understand. That's it, I understand. Inside the steel suit, Tony smiled and said, in the future, I will let Jarvis simulate disasters, face different scenarios, and deal with different ninjutsu. At the same time, I will practice more myself and try to keep all ninjutsu in my heart. Thank you Mr. Immortal for your reminder. Senju Zhongsheng. Well, Tony seems to have misunderstood what he meant, but this is indeed a solution. Please, now in the battle, can you stop chatting? Natasha on the side couldn't help but vomit. Boom. When the two were talking, Hulk rushed to Ultron again. This time it was much worse than the last time. His power was completely suppressed by Ultron. He hit the ground with a punch and hammered it down, smashing a hole in the ground. It hurts to look at it, so, are we just watching? Tony's mouth twitched slightly. Of course not, but first let Jarvis close Ultron's network, and then eliminate this Ultron. Senju Zhongsheng stood with his hands in his hands, chatting and laughing lightly, in sharp contrast with the roaring battlefield. The absence of vision does not mean that Jarvis cannot shut down Ultron's network. As long as Tony injects Jarvis in the armor into Ultron, he can successfully close the network. The next step is to clean up all the mechanical clones, and Ultron will disappear from then on. If you don't close the network, even if Ultron in front of you is killed, you can still create another one. However, this time the enemy is not only Ultron alone. Rumble. Suddenly, a blue light beam suddenly rose in the sky, hitting the sky. A black channel was opened in the sky. Several spaceships the size of several cities were drilled out of the tunnel. Loki used space gems to send the Zetarians over. Thank you for reading this story at mtlarchive.com. Your support enables us to keep the site running. Chapter 89 Sha Jiju wants to build Gundam. There is Ultron's mechanical army in the city of Sokovia, which is raging and destroying. There was another alien army sent by Loki in the sky, carrying out a carpet bombardment of the world. The advent of the two major forces caused a devastating blow to the Earth. Boom 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 boom. A spaceship resembling a dragon, passing through the sky, launching energy beams at the city where humans live, and a whole building collapsed. The American team and others brought the Avengers to fight with these alien civilizations. The forces of S.H.I.E.L.D. Bureau and GUE Mage also participated in this battle. Flying objects shuttled quickly in the sky, and the golden magic arrays lined up, roaring and screaming intertwined with noise. The heroes not only want to defeat the mechanical forces in alien civilization, but also protect the survivors. It can be said that they're very busy. The Earth is like the end of the world, and many ordinary humans can only flee and scream, and cannot do anything about the buildings that have fallen from the sky. This is the helplessness and pain of ordinary people in the Marvel world. It is also one of the fews for the subsequent repeated Avengers. Humans not only do not appreciate the salvation of the heroes, but hate the existence of all superpowers. They believe that without superpowers, such a tragedy would not happen. At this moment, Thor, without Thor's hammer, had extremely low combat power, even reduced to the job of saving mortals. Kuai Pietro relied on speed to beat the robot while not forgetting to save the civilians. There is also Wanda the Scarlet Witch, who used her ability to block a large number of falling buildings and beam shockwaves, and her brother and sister were very busy. The whole world is boiling at this moment. The chat group is also very lively. The grand scenes, the magnificent scenes, every scene is shocking. Ainzer Christine. What a wonderful war, but I'm not there. Fortunately, not here, or I will be in danger. Portgas Dace. Compared with this kind of scene, our top war is a little insignificant. Polygonum cuspidatum Yuhito. It's really scary, by the way, Miss Kasumigoka, where is this? Yun Yun. It seems that Miss Shajiju did not participate in the war, but this is the correct way. If she passes, she will only die in vain. Izumi Sagiri. Sister Kasumigoka is doing this, the drawings on the ground seem to be very complicated. Saitama. The things drawn on the drawings look like Janos. Shajichu Shiyu. He. I'm studying this armor blueprint and I'm going to build a steel suit for myself. Shajiju Shiyu. At Chiyu, can you ask Janos to give him his technical drawings? I suddenly had a bold idea. Izumi Sagiri. Didn't Sister Kasumigoka stop writing novels? Shajiju Shiyu. Novel. Don't write it. When I arrive at the university, I will directly apply for the physics major, specializing in mechanics. Yun Yun. Can machinery be powerful in cultivating immortals? Why doesn't Miss Shajichu try her cultivation talent? As soon as this remark came out, Shajiju Shiyu suddenly woke up. Yes, I can also cultivate immortals. After cultivating immortals, I will have a long lifespan, which is then used to develop armor. If you are in danger, I can directly control the armored battle, and I don't need to take action. Shajiju Shiyu was shocked by her own genius thoughts. She wants to cultivate immortality in order to live forever. But she didn't like fighting, and she didn't have time to practice those fighting skills, that would be too unfair. But she can develop armor to help her fight, and the armor can also be controlled remotely. Why do you have to play in person like Tony? In vain. Shiyu Shajichu had a new idea. She wanted to create mecha instead of armor. As for the source of inspiration for the mecha, it is the Gundam in her world. Shajiju Shiyu smiled and made up his mind to create Gundam. But before that, I have to test whether my plane has too little aura or my talent is not good. Yifan. At Kiraji Ying, why do you hide in such a place and not go out to fight? Ainzer Christine. Tony Stark. Good guy, we're like this, you hide in the corner? Saitama. At Shajichu Shiyu, Genos said that the doctor allowed it, and it will be sent to you at that time. Shajichu Shiyu. Great, thank you very much. When I develop a Gundam in the future, I will definitely give it back. At this moment, Kira Jiying was standing in the dark alley with sweat on his forehead, leaning against the wall to watch the chaotic scene outside. He threw the communication headset in his ears directly to the ground and smashed it with one foot. He did not intend to continue listening to the command of S.H.I.E.L.D. Damn it, can't you turn off this live broadcast? Kira Jiying frowned. Just now he followed the members of the Avengers to attack, and finally found an opportunity to sneak out, and finally started the chat group live broadcast again. Kira Jiying didn't like her every move and was monitored by others. This live broadcast undoubtedly made him feel uncomfortable. Everyone, I am an ordinary person, and my special abilities need to be released at close range, so of course I have to avoid danger. Kira Jiying explained calmly, his words were half-truths. Although he is indeed an ordinary person himself, his killer queen can blow up all people and things close to him in an instant. The reason why he would accept the task is to hold the points after mixing this time, and then never participate in the task again and continue his leisurely work life. But obviously, this mission is far beyond his imagination. There are too many existences that can kill him remotely. S.H.I.E.L.D. asked me to turn off the space teleportation device, so I need to hide my figure. As if afraid that the people in the group would not believe it, Kira Jiying sorted out the lavender suit and added one more sentence. Hearing this, everyone was half believing and didn't ask any more questions. Kira Jiying gloomily looked at the blue light beam not far away, and then walked slowly into the building. The screams and exclamations around him were endless, but they couldn't affect Kira Jiying at all. There seemed to be a wonderful melody around, making Kira Jiying calmer than ever. He walked in leisurely and took the elevator up, calmly and completely different from what he was just now. Fairy talked to him a lot about the substitute last night and even quietly probed him. Unfortunately, avatars are not so easy to detect. Kira Jiying is a smart person. It is estimated that his substitute ability yesterday attracted the attention of SHI. But he is not a person who is willing to obey other people's orders. He likes to be free and walk alone. If it were not for the live broadcast of the chat group, he would not continue to perform the tasks given by S.H.I.E.L.D. at this moment. Ding! The elevator reached the top floor, and Kira Jiying paced out. Thank you for reading this story at mtlarchive.com. Your support enables us to keep the site running. Chapter 90 Kira Jiying under Space Gems. As soon as Kira Jiying got out of the elevator, he saw a small machine. A blue beam of light blasted through the clouds. As long as this thing was destroyed, the space channel would be closed immediately. I thought it was who it was. It turned out to be a lost kitten who came here by accident. Suddenly, Loki, wearing a black mage robe, holding a magic scepter, fell from behind to Kira Jiying's side. Hearing a sound from behind, Kira Jiying suddenly turned her head, and the Killer Queen was released directly. Oh, you seem to be a little panicked. Don't worry, I am generally too lazy to act on mortals. Have you seen the spacecraft above? The Earth will soon be over? A smile appeared on Loki's handsome face. You will also die here by then, so I don't need to do it at all. Ha 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 ha. He smiled and walked to the other side, jokingly looking at the alien army in the sky, and in the distance, the city of Sukvia that was flying by Ultron's technology. If Sokvia falls from a high altitude, the Earth will perish faster. But you look very interesting. I feel the contempt for life in your mind, which is very similar to me. In vain, Loki turned around and smiled faintly. For the sake of your destiny, I allow you to follow me, and even give you everything you want. Loki's words are full of magic, but fortunately, he has no spiritual gems at the moment, otherwise Kira Jiying has been thoroughly brainwashed and become a follower. Loki's cynical expression caused Kira Jiying to fall into silence. He is a cautious person himself, and now facing people like Loki, it is naturally impossible to believe his nonsense. And now in the live broadcast, Kira Jiying really doesn't dare to mess around, once he acts abnormally. I am afraid that Senju Chongsheng will come in an instant and destroy him. Kira Jiying was silent, thinking quickly how to get the universe cube. At the meeting yesterday, he heard Senju Chongsheng say that there are space gems in the universe cube. Kira Jiying is no stranger to the term, space. Even for this force, there is a heart of coveting. Unknowingly, Kira Jiying has gradually approached Loki's side, but in fact, he is also approaching the cube of the universe. When he reached the limit, he stopped and calmly looked at the destroyed Earth in the distance. The two of them are like men standing on the rooftop smoking and watching the scenery, and they have the feeling of dusk and sunset. Haha. It seems that you have figured it out. I can give you some special abilities. I want you to deal with the Avengers guys now. Loki chuckled. He was extremely confident in his lies, because he was the god of lies. Is it not easy for a small mortal to be bewitched by his words? The so-called special ability is just a small strengthening magic. Being able to control a mortal to help him work is actually a very interesting thing. He also wanted to see superheroes dare to do something to mortals. Special abilities are something. I don't actually need it. I need your universe Rubik's Cube. Suddenly, the corners of Kira Jiying's mouth rose slightly, and he was silent for a long time, finally speaking for the first time. The Killer Queen emerged from behind him with an amazing speed, and one punch exploded the instrument on the side with the Cosmos Rubik's Cube. The space channel above was instantly closed, and all alien spacecraft that did not enter were all isolated. The Killer Queen grabbed the blue Rubik's Cube with her palm and squeezed her wrist. Boom! The Rubik's Cube shattered, revealing the Azure Space Gem inside. The sudden change caused Rocky's complexion to change drastically. From his perspective, it was the instrument that exploded automatically, and then the space gem floated into the sky. Are you from my brother's side, or S.H.I.E.L.D.? Loki forcibly calmed down, his eyes narrowed slightly. But Kira Jiying didn't respond to his words at all. The Killer Queen pinched the space gem with her fingers. The power of space is transmitted to Kira Jiying through the substitute. The Killer Queen and Kira Jiying are connected. Once the Killer Queen is broken, Kira Jiying will die with it. On the contrary, Kira Jiying can also feel the power felt by the Killer Queen. Is this the power of space gems? It's so wonderful. With it, long-range attacks will no longer be a threat to me. Kira Jiying showed excitement, and the power of the space gem began to flood his mind. At this moment, he has become the god of space. Control the power of space. The Killer Queen opened her mouth, put the space gem into her mouth, and a light blue light lingered all over her body. The whites of the red eyes were also dyed blue at this moment. I'm sorry that I missed my eyes. I didn't expect you to have special abilities, but if you want to take away the space gem, only relying on your invisible power. Boom! Loki's face was sullen, and before he could finish speaking, he suddenly felt a fatal threat and quickly moved closer to him. Frightened that he hurriedly used the magic scepter to resist, an invisible force hit the scepter. What's the matter? I seem to be punched by someone invisible. When Loki staggered back a few steps, Kira Jiying smiled and pressed her thumb. Click. Boom, the scepter in Loki's hand exploded directly, and the thick smoke and flames covered people's sight. At the moment of the explosion, the protective magic in Loki's body was automatically activated. He was hit by the explosion and flew out from the roof. Roar, a roar like a dragon roar came from downstairs, and Loki was carried by a 100-meter mechanical creature. Very well, you succeeded in angering me, Rocky said with a gloomy expression. The whole body of mechanical creatures is composed of machinery, floating in the air strangely, like a dragon twisting its body. It opened a pouring mouth at Kira Jiying and swept over. In an instant, Kira Jiying had no resistance, and was swallowed by the swimming mechanical dragon, and everyone in the chat group was also surprised. Just when they thought that Kira Jiying was over, a figure suddenly appeared on the back of the mechanical dragon accompanied by blue light. Kira Jiying's face was cold, and the corners of her mouth were slightly raised. Under Loki's shocked eyes, her figure continued to flicker. Starting from the dragon's head, it flashes all the way to the dragon's tail in a flashing rhythm of 100 meters. Boom 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 boom. The Killer Queen shook her fist strongly, punching the mechanical wandering dragon frantically, hitting the afterimages and silence of her debut. When the last punch fell, Kira Jiying has once again used the power of the space gem to return to the roof just now. The first bomb, he sneered with his back to the Baizhang mechanical Yolong and gently pressed his thumb down. Click. The sound of a switch pressing sounded. In the next second, the roaming mechanical dragon burst open in vain. The roar was deafening, the flames filled the sky, and the heat wave swept across the sky. Yulong was like a nuclear bomb exploding, and the shock wave spread out. Kira Jiying's golden hair was dancing, and her lavender suit was hunting. Loki was blown out again and crashed into a building. Just as the fireworks were about to spread, they began to shrink back in vain. In just one breath, the fire and smoke disappeared completely, leaving no dust behind. Thank you for reading this story at mtlarchive.com. Your support enables us to keep the site running. Chapter 91. The Baizhang mechanical dragon seems to have never appeared before, and there is no shadow behind Kira Jiying. Such a scene finally caused the chat group to explode. If Kira Jiying blows up the hammer, he is just playing with the bomb. Then this directly caused the 100-Zhang giant dragon to disappear, which is extremely terrifying. The members of the group finally realized that Kira Jiying's ability is very powerful, and it can even kill everyone in the group. Now Kira Jiying, who has the gem of space, is more powerful than before. Shajichu Shiyu. Hiss. No wonder. It turns out that Kira Jiying's abilities are so terrifying, that a mechanical dragon that is so big can disappear in an instant. Saitama. It's so strong, but it's a pity that I'm not strong. Yifan. But this ability plus space ability is enough to make him squeeze into the top combat power of the chat group. Ainzer Christine. I think the space gem should be handed over to Mr. Immortal. Beatrice. At Kira Jiying, such a useful ability, hurry up to help and blow up this robot. Such an easy-to-use ability is simply too wasteful if it is not used to blow up Ultron. On the side of Senju Chongsheng and others, Ultron used a machine that had been prepared in advance, together with the land panel, and sent it to an altitude of several hundred meters. The surrounding area was already in ruins, and civilians were taken away by S.H.I.E.L.D. using aircraft. Only the Avengers and others remain, as well as the members of the 10,000 Worlds chat group. The Scarlet Witch and Hulk are very conscientious and have been fighting with Ultron and the Mechanical Army. Tony, Lem, and Ram will also help a little bit, but Senju Chongsheng and Beatrice watched the play entirely. Master Immortal, why don't we make a move? The blue-hair Ram, dressed in a cute maid costume, holding a meteor hammer, asked timidly. Senju Chongsheng smiled gently, touched Lem's soft hair with his palm, and said, because the hitman hasn't come yet, I will call him now. Senju Chongsheng. At Kira Jiying, come here, we are about to start. Kira Jiying. Okay, come now. Kira Jiying on the balcony tidied up his suit, and immediately activated the power of the space gem again. In an instant, the blue light was released, and his consciousness gradually spread out, covering the entire Earth. He really enjoyed this feeling and had the pleasure of controlling the world. Kira Jiying appeared next to Senju Chongsheng instantly, staring blankly at the surrounding ruined walls. Here, let's just start, Beatrice yawned and said lightly. Immediately chanting incantation, the magic lines were intertwined in the void, and a purple-black magic array suddenly formed under Ultron's feet. Senju Chongsheng didn't froze either, faintly smiled and mobilized aura, pulling Hulk, Scarlet Witch and others directly away. Hum. A magical cage rose from the ground, enveloping Ultron directly. Rumble. Ultron raised his hand to release several energy lasers, which exploded violently on the magic cage. He also attacked with shockwave amplitude, but it was still unable to break the imprisonment. Ultron, who had made Hulk and Scarlet Witch helpless, was trapped by Beatrice's magic circle. It seems so easy and freehand. The people on the Avengers side, there are still some grievances, feel that Senju Chongsheng and others are paddling. As a result, Beatrice's hand directly resolved most of the grievances in everyone's hearts. Tony and Kira are ready to follow me. Senju Chongsheng grinned, and jumped up with physical strength alone, jumping a kilometer away in one step. When he was about to hit the magic circle that trapped Ultron, a circular exit suddenly appeared in the magic cage. Ultron did not hesitate to release the beam of light to obliterate Senju Chongsheng directly into ashes. Boom! Orange laser energy burst out, and Senju Chongsheng's whole body was covered by armament Haki. The energy laser was carried hard on the front, and the energy split into several rays of light, blowing up huge craters of dense smoke around. Senju Chongsheng rammed into the cage. Tony Stark also urged the immortal armor, and rushed in shortly thereafter. Click! Click! The moment the two fell to the ground, a cold chakra burst out of Senju's body. Condensed into ice, spreading all the way from the ground. In an instant, Ultron's entire body was frozen, with only one head left. Buzzing. The energy like the vibrating sound wave trembles crazily in Ultron's body, seeming to break the ice at any time. Wood-style Myojin Gate. Senju Chongsheng knew that Ultron was trying to break the ice, and he didn't hesitate. A series of wooden Myojin gates descended from the sky, and once again suppressed Ultron. At the same time, vines entangled in rocks covered under Ultron's feet. It can be said that full suppression has been done. Senju Chongsheng's surging chakra continues to be output, making Ultron stand still and unable to move. It's useless. How can you limit my ability to move? You can't kill me. Everywhere. Ultron's voice was cold, and a crimson laser suddenly shot from the mechanical pupils, pointing directly at Senju Chongsheng. Boring. Senju sneered. Bang! With a flick of his finger, the beam of light that came from suddenly smashed the space, and several cracks suddenly appeared in the void. Shock fruit. At the same time as the laser shook, Senju Chongsheng once again ejected two aura shocks, which directly exploded Ultron's two mechanical pupils. Starting. 2. Senju Chongsheng said lightly. Tony Stark heard this and immediately rushed to the side of Ultron. Pressing the palm of his hand on Ultron's forehead, a sizzle of electric current sounded. Jarvis began to invade Ultron and destroy its interior. Ha 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 ha. It's useless. My soul has connected all the clones. Even if you close my network, Loki will take my remaining soul clones and continue to live in the world. Ultron laughed in vain, and Senju's brow wrinkled at his words. In less than a moment, the network connected to Ultron was disconnected and entered the standalone offline mode. Kira Jiying didn't froze either, using the space gem to jump to Ultron's side. The Killer Queen emerged from her body and hit Ultron with a heavy punch. The first bomb. Wait a moment. Senju Chongsheng frowned, and just started to dissuade him, but the next second there was a loud bang. The flames flooded the sky, the smoke billowed, and then the flow back and shrink. Ultron was directly bombed by Kira Jiying, so there was no dust left. Mr. Immortal, this is... Tony was a little startled. Both he and Kira Jiying were a little stunned. After all, Senju Chongsheng just said to wait. But because Kira Jiying started too quickly, he directly bombed Ultron. It's nothing, just what he said just now. Senju Chongsheng took a deep breath. He heard Ultron mention Loki just now, and the two were suspected of a cooperative relationship. This point made Senju Chongsheng pay more attention to it in his heart. Thank you for reading this story at mtlarchive.com. Your support enables us to keep the site running. Chapter 92: The Battle Towards End. Marvel World not only staged the reunion 1 and 2 at the same time, but also allowed the two boss to reach a cooperative relationship, which is not very good. If Loki brought Ultron's program, it would be possible for Ultron to enter the universe network, and thus be immortal in the true sense. The universe is too vast. Even Senju Chongsheng cannot pursue the Ultron hiding in the universe. You go to Loki. I will follow up later. Senju Chongsheng said to Beatrice and the others. When Beatrice heard this, she said in disbelief, "You are going to clean up this city alone?" The city of Sokovia that is flying now is definitely not a small one. It is a city that can hold hundreds of thousands of people. She wondered how Senju Chongsheng would solve the problem of falling in this high-altitude city. Senju Chongsheng floated up in the air and said lightly, "You go down and help clean up the mechanical units and aliens. I have the ability to solve this thing." After all, his figure rushed out in an instant, as if evacuating, flying hundreds of miles away. Hoo-hoo, the city of Sokovia, which had lost its kinetic energy, began to fall at an astonishing speed. The impact of the heat wave made it like a meteorite with a reddish underneath. Senju Chongsheng stood high in the sky, reaching out to the mainland with his palm. Chakras surged in his body. Dust escape limited stripping technique. Senju Chongsheng gave a soft voice. A strong white light burst out from the palm of the palm, and chakra intertwined into a small luminous cube. Aiming at the falling city of Sokovia, white light shrouded suddenly, and the cube gradually elongated and became larger. In the end, it happened to cover the entire city of Sokovia, and the harsh buzzing sound rang through the sky. If someone is nearby, they will definitely lose their hearing and vision at this moment. The dazzling white light is like a shooting star in the dark night, brilliant and brilliant. After the light dissipated, the city of Sokovia that had fallen has disappeared, and no gravel has fallen. As if it never existed. It's easy. The next step is to settle accounts with Loki. Senju Chongsheng smiled and clapped his hands, and then flew in the direction of Beatrice and others. Ultron's program is in Loki's hands, and Senju Chongsheng is going to find Loki and completely destroy Ultron. But Loki is a god of lies, and Senju would not believe a word of what he said. So Senju Chongsheng intends to brainwash Loki directly with the Gem of the Soul and let him destroy Ultron himself. Falling back to the ground, a huge crater appeared in the bustling city center, as if it had been destroyed by a meteorite. The nearby robot army has been destroyed by the Avengers and is almost extinct, leaving only those alien civilizations flying in the sky. This war can be said to be about to end. It's been a long time, Mr. Immortal. Ji Yi was still in the yellow magic robe, and she walked over with a kind smile on her face. Obviously, I felt extremely happy for the help of Senju Chongsheng and others. This incident can be described as the most dangerous in the history of the Earth. Even if Ji Yi was strong, he couldn't be too busy. The arrival of Senju Chongsheng and others was a great help. It's Ji Yi mage, it's been a long time since I saw you. Senju Chongsheng smiled and nodded, and immediately looked at Kira Jiying, who blew up dozens of alien spaceships in the distance. Senju is still very satisfied with Kira Jiying's performance this time. He not only closed the space channel, but also exploded Ultron's strongest mechanical body. It can be said that Kira Jiying contributed the most to this group mission. Even Senju Chongsheng also has a paddling component in it. Kira Jiying obeyed every command of Senju Chongsheng and did not commit murder under his nose. This also makes Senju live for a long time, and some do not know what to do. Kira Jiying's role is very large, and the ability to perform tasks is also very good. Originally, Senju Chongsheng was thinking about suppressing Kira directly at the moment when Kira Jiying couldn't suppress his hands on women. But until now, Kira Jiying has not caused anything. Would you like to control him with the Jewel of the Soul, and then prevent him from returning to the world of JoJo and let Tony monitor his every move? Senju Chongsheng squeezed his chin, his face looked thoughtful. As long as Kira Jiying does not return to the JoJo world, he will not encounter a double messenger. In this way, the control effect of the Soul Gem will not be cut off by some special stand-in abilities. But the premise is, how to persuade Kira Jiying to stay in the Marvel world. Is it possible to use the Gem of the Soul to keep Kira Jiying here? If you do this, it may make many people in the group feel uncomfortable. Although Senju Chongsheng is the leader of the group, he is also the strongest person in the group, and the group members respect him. But wanton use of the mind gems to control group members will make other people vigilant and guard against him. No one wants to be controlled by others. Some people who are particularly cautious may not participate in group missions in the future. For example, the Bone King, with his personality, if he knew that Senju Chongsheng could control the will of others, he would never meet Senju Chongsheng again. Senju Chongsheng's eyes flickered slightly, and after thinking for a while, he finally thought of a new idea. From the current point of view, Kira Jiying likes space gems very much. Maybe he can stay in this world on the grounds of looking for other infinite gems. Then Senju Chongsheng secretly uses the spiritual gem to change Kira Jiying's thoughts and quirks. As for whether the infinite gems can be found by Kira Jiying, Senju can guarantee that he will never find them all. Many infinite gems are in the universe, not in the earth. Unless Thanos comes on stage, Kira Jiying will never find the second infinite gem. Even if he knew that Ji Yi had the time gem in his hands, he couldn't get it. With the ancient method, it is easy to control Kira Jiying. Bang! While Senju was thinking about it, Saul suddenly fell from the abandoned building and hit him next to him. Ahem. Loki, stop for me. Saul stood up with a soft cough and yelled upstairs. Senju Chongsheng raised his eyebrows and rose straight into the sky. He was here to find Loki, but he didn't expect to be in a daze for a while, and the target would appear on his own. It is not surprising that Loki's space gem was snatched by Kira Jiying, and he lost the ability to escape the Earth. The first thing Loki has to do is to take back the space gem from Kira Jiying. I saw him rushing towards Kira Jiying in the air. His clothes were a little damaged, and magical glare shot out sharply. Boom! 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 Kira Jiying, who had just blown up the robot, felt the threat coming, and immediately urged the space gem power to evade. His figure flickered continuously, retreated quickly, and did not go to the front to make a head-on. He even secretly looked for opportunities to see if he could teleport behind Loki to fight back. It's a pity that Loki is very guarded against Kira Jiying and doesn't give Kira a chance to get close to him at all. Thank you for reading this story at mtlarchive.com. Your support enables us to keep the site running. Chapter 93. When he really started, Loki was very guarded against Kira Jiying. It won't be blown up twice in a row like it was at the beginning. Loki and Kira Jiying began to show a trend of chasing and fleeing, and quickly shuttled through the broken half of the city. Captain America and others chased all the way, but the speed was too slow. Only Kuayin was able to keep up. He held his sister Wanda and ran directly in front of Kira Jiying, ready to stay in ambush. When Loki passed by here, the Scarlet Witch directly released chaos magic. The scarlet energy was intertwined into a web, forcibly covering Loki in flight. Boom! Loki fell heavily to the ground, gritted his teeth in pain. Senju Chongsheng, Fulian and others also followed suit and surrounded Loki with a smile. You lost, Loki. Captain America Steve Rogers stepped forward and took a deep breath. Saul also walked over, looking at his brother with some speechless eyes. In his eyes, his brother is too naughty. In fact, his heart is not bad. How to solve next? Ji Mage took Kamatage and a group of magicians and walked over here. What she said was to Senju Chongsheng and wanted to see how Senju Chongsheng would solve the matter. Oh, I think he should be handed over to me, and I want to take him back to Asgard. Senju Chongsheng hadn't spoken yet, Thor said first, for fear that everyone would be against Loki. No hurry, he still has Ultron on his body, and destroy Ultron first. Senju Chongsheng glanced at Saul and said lightly. When Rocky heard this, he hurriedly took out a small instrument from his arms. No problem, as long as you can let me go, Ultron is inside, so take it. His tone is very sincere, even with a scent of counseling in it. But Senju, who knows the original work, knows that the lower Loki's posture is, the more he is lying and planning other things. Loki, even when faced with Thanos, has never been counseled. How can you make such a gesture? It seems that I don't plan to cooperate. Senju Chongsheng sneered. He also didn't plan to talk nonsense with Loki, and directly took out the soul gem from the system space. The yellow light bloomed, and the power of the soul poured into the brain from the palm of the hand. When Senju Chongsheng was about to enter Loki's mind, Wanda on the side seemed fascinated. Staring fiercely at Senju Chongsheng's fist holding the soul gem, even the scarlet chaos magic began to flock to Senju Chongsheng. Huh? Wanda, what are you going to do? Senju's brow furrowed and Senju groaned in confusion. He didn't remember that Wanda would lose control because of the spiritual gem, but the haunting of chaos magic right now is one of the manifestations of loss of control. Is it because of the early debut, causing the current Wanda to lose control? Wow. Ji Yi on the side immediately released his magic. She also saw that Wanda was wrong, and the first time she wanted to stop Wanda from snatching the soul gem. But the touch of the scarlet chaos magic in the soul gem produced an indescribable shockwave. Ji Yi's magic circle was all shattered, and Beatrice had to release her magic to protect Lem and Ram. In an instant, everyone except Senju Chongsheng was shocked by the shock to retreat one after another. Steve Rogers, Hawkeye and others, even more sword, hitting the wall, and their muscles ached. Wanda? Senju Chongsheng yelled again, the soul gem in his hand struggling violently, and he would get rid of it at any time. But his cry did not wake Wanda, the other party instead released a more powerful chaos magic. Senju's brow furrowed and his whole body released aura, chakra and idol particles boiled and stirred, forcibly suppressing the spiritual gem. Give me! Wanda was like a madman, with scarlet light blooming, instantly approaching the front of Senju Chongsheng, and slapped out with a palm. An irresistible force was instilled in front of Senju Chongsheng, just as he was about to take the soul gem back into the system space. Wanda has grabbed his wrist, and the scarlet chaos magic is climbing up the rock. The gems of the soul are no longer suppressed like drugs, and fly directly from Senju Chongsheng's hands. Boom! The gem of the soul falls into the hands of Wanda. The touch of the two seemed to activate all the energy of Wanda. Terrifying scarlet energy filled the sky, making the sky appear red. Senju Chongsheng did not hesitate, and the great master erupted with all his strength, reaching out and grabbing the snow neck of Wanda Swan. Looking at Wanda indifferently, his aura turned into a giant hand covering the sky, suppressing Wanda. Rumble. The collision of aura and chaos magic erupted with unprecedented violent fluctuations. The sky was scarlet, and the earth trembled like an earth dragon turning over. The surrounding ruined buildings also turned into dust and scattered in an instant. Wanda was completely out of control, his pupils had been replaced by the whites of his eyes, and unparalleled energy fluctuations bloomed throughout his body. And Senju Chongsheng's palm was actually opened by the chaos magic at this moment, and Wanda also rose into the sky. This fuck is a bit pervert. Is it possible that Wanda already has the strength of the comic universe? The corners of Senju Chongsheng's mouth twitched slightly, and sage art burst out unreservedly. At this moment, he had to do his best to suppress Wanda, and the scene fell into unprecedented chaos. Boom. 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 For a time, two figures crisscrossed in the sky, and the mighty momentum was thrilling. Every collision has strong energy ripples, and the impact makes others scalp numb. What's the matter? The combination of that woman and Mr. Immortal's gems can burst out such terrifying energy. Beatrice's Willow frowned slightly, and she releases her defensive magic with all her strength, and Ram also assists her with magical powers. Only the melee-type Lem can only hide behind helplessly. The master of this person is chaos magic, and the gemstone of the soul has some homology with her magic, which directly broke her shackles, Ji Yi said with a gloomy expression. She didn't continue speaking, and immediately invoked the dark power to activate the mirror space. A wave of spatial fluctuations spread out, trapping Wanda in it. However, this spatial fluctuation failed to reach Wanda, so it was directly exploded into magical energy, shattered and dispersed. No way, I can only use the gems of time to counter the current. Ji Yi is not willing to use the time gem. She thinks the time gem will make the parallel universe chaotic. But now it's overwhelming. If you don't use the gem of time, the woman in front of you will probably destroy the entire Earth. Laugh. While resisting the shockwave of the battle between Senju Chongsheng and Wanda, Ji gathered the teleportation array. The teleportation channel connects to Kamatage's library, where the time gem is also stored. Ji palm and a move, and an emerald green gem suddenly flew into his hand. She used the power of time to portray the magic circle, to reverse everything in front of her. Thank you for reading this story at mtlarchive.com. Your support enables us to keep the site running. Chapter 94. Ahem. On the ground, Loki woke up from the faint. The magical energy that Wanda exploded just now directly caused him, who is also a mage, to be washed away from his consciousness. What happened? This guy has such a huge mental power. Loki endured the pain and got up, looking at the two figures fighting in the sky with some shock. Immediately he looked around and quickly locked onto Kira. I saw that the other party was more miserable than myself. His body was pressed by a boulder, bloodline overflowed from the corner of his mouth, and he had not yet woken up from the coma. Oh, our Mr. Suit is a little embarrassed. He is weak and will always be bruised. Loki walked slowly in front of Kira, yin and yang's strange air passages. It seems that because Loki's words are too gunpowder, Kira fingertips moved slightly and immediately opened his eyes. The Killer Queen suddenly appeared and broke away the boulder on Kira body. Loki, who had just finished taunting Kira, looked stiff. He didn't expect the invisible object of the other party to push away the boulder so easily. Frightened Loki hurriedly released his magic and blasted Kira away to avoid being attacked by the invisible thing. Boom! Kira flew out without resistance and fell heavily on the ground. He took a few deep breaths, endured the sharp pain, and got up with a sneer. Madness. It was a big mistake to think that if you were farther away, you wouldn't be able to withstand the attack of the explosion. Kira stand-in ability is to turn everything he touches into a bomb. He had already touched the place where he was lying just now. That is where Loki is standing now. It's a big bomb. Kira stood up, smiled and pressed his thumb. With a click, it was like a Shinigami switch. Under Loki's astonishment, an explosion exploded below Huo Ran. For the third time, Loki was blown out by the wave of the explosion. Boom. At the same time, Wanda, whose body was haunted by chaotic magical energy, fell from the sky, just in front of Kira. Senju Chongsheng stands tall in the sky like a god, and his aura transforms into a humanoid shadow floating high in the sky. The black knife Chusui in his hand is entwined with crimson flames. With full burst, even Wanda, who broke the shackles, was smashed from the sky by Senju Chongsheng. Of course, this is when Wanda has not yet exploded to revise the real power. After all, for the first time to break the shackles, Wanda's control of power still remained in the barbaric period. If she can modify the reality, then once she falls into a disadvantage, Wanda will be able to counter the flow of time and fight again. Snapped. When Wanda fell to the ground, the soul gem he was holding in his hand also fell out. Unfortunately, it just slid to Kira feet. Seeing the gem of the soul, Kira heart suddenly moved. Although he doesn't know the function of this gem, the energy on it is very similar to the space gem and it is definitely not simple. Let go of the soul gem, that is not something you can touch, and hand over the space gem. Suddenly, Senju's cold voice rang from all directions. Kira body shook, but he still controlled the Killer Queen and grabbed the soul gem. Give it a try. A bike becomes a motorcycle. People die for money and birds die for food. Kira has an intuition that the gem in front of him is absolutely extremely important. He must seize this only opportunity. The moment the Killer Queen was about to touch the soul gem, the change happened again. An emerald green energy covers the audience. Ji carried the gem of time with emerald green luster, lightly falling down. Her arrival caused the audience to fall into a freeze-frame state, and the picture seemed to have fallen into a standstill at this moment. Even the bomb of the Killer Queen stopped at this moment. Rocky, who hadn't landed, flew out, suspended in the air. Mr. Immortal is right, this is indeed not something you can touch, Ji said lightly. No, I just want to help pick it up. Kira, who owns the space gem, has not fallen into the control of the time gem. The light blue spatial energy resisted the erosion of time energy, and Kira was still able to move freely. He didn't know anything about Ji's strength, and even if he knew it, he wouldn't be afraid. The Killer Queen's palm continued to grab the soul gem, her face sank, and she immediately increased her magic output. In vain, Wanda floated up from the pothole. The scarlet chaos magic collided with the realm of time gems with a roar. The two mutually exclusive forces wrestled with each other, and Ji hurriedly displayed magical confrontation. The gem of the soul was also haunted by the chaos magic, and flew quickly in the direction of Wanda. No matter how fast the Killer Queen was, she still couldn't grab the soul gem. Damn it! Kira eyes flashed, using the power of space gems to flash and snatch. The collision of the two jewel forces, coupled with the chaos magic, made this area begin to show signs of collapse. Die to me! The soul gem fell into his hand with a snap, Wanda shouted, and the chaos magic poured into the soul gem. For a time, the 4 rays of light were released, and the vast energy fluctuations rushed Beatrice and others to a kilometer away. Even Senju Chongsheng felt the extraordinary energy, and the skin on his body felt tingling. He hurriedly appeared in front of the chat group members and shouted at the horrified people around him. "Those who don't want to die, come behind me." Captain America and the others suddenly woke up. Although they didn't understand what would happen next, they still obeyed Senju's words. Only Kuayin was going to rush out, and Beatrice used magic to force her to bind her. The vast power erupted with a strong impact, causing the space to tremble violently, and the earth also cracked several abysses and gullies at this moment, just like the scene of the end of the world. Senju's long life stepped on diagonally, and the strength of his whole body surged out at this moment, as if a god resisted in front of everyone. He punched it out, and the void in front of him seemed like a mirror shattered, cracking open several cracks. Boom! As soon as one punch fell, the second punch was already received. The shadow of the fist was pouring down like a shower, so that the mirror in front of him was covered with cracks, blocking everyone's sight. In just a few breaths, Senju Chongsheng has swung tens of thousands of punches, and the power of shock fruit split the earth into two halves. The four energy fluctuations erupted by the ancient first class were completely cut off by the energy of shock fruit. Beatrix and others in the rear were shocked, and the chat group was even more confused. Kira Jiying's live broadcast was cut off suddenly. Only Beatrix, Senju Jiangsang, and Shiyu Kasumigoka at Tony's house are left. Even the picture of Shiyu Shajichu can be clearly seen. A glass mirror full of cracks spread from the ground to the sky, with no end in sight and no limit on both sides. Senju Chongsheng used the power of shock fruit to block all the energy on the other side without letting a trace of energy affect this side. Call. After a long time, Senju Chongsheng finally breathed out a long sigh, and the spirit-like aura on his body gradually faded. This time the shock fruit ability was activated, which was the first time in his history. He shattered the entire earth into two halves, and finally blocked the impact of these three infinite gems and chaos magic. As for the other side of the earth, Senju Chongsheng has no ability to protect, and he doesn't know what happened on the other side. Even the people from S.H.I.E.L.D. are there, not knowing whether it is life or death. Thank you for reading this story at mtlarchive.com. Your support enables us to keep the site running. Chapter 95 Multiverse. This shattered glass space resembles a sky that separates the two sides of the world. It lasted a whole day and night, and finally there were signs of dissipating. Steve Rogers took the Avengers and others, stood here one after another, waiting for the space to recover. The blurry picture in front of him also became clear. Everyone held their breath, thinking about the other side of the world. What is going on? Is it a ruin? Still nothingness? The power of the three infinite gems already possesses half of the power of creation. Under the collision of that energy, the hope of life is extremely slim. Tony Stark. To be honest, I am very nervous now. Polygonum cuspidatum. All of us who watched the game felt nervous, not knowing what would be on the other side of the earth. Yifan. I'm afraid it will be a ruin. Maybe the other half of the earth has no living creatures. Jin Muyan. It's a bit horrible. Kasumigoka Shiba. What about Kira Jiying? Is it going to die? Tony Stark. It is possible, but not necessarily. The reason for the uncertainty is that the members of the group have not decreased, and Kira Jiying is still in the group. The dead shouldn't be still in the group, right? Kamen Tanjiro. What do you think of Mr. Immortal? Senju Chongsheng. To be honest, I don't know. After all, the power of infinite gems is amazing, and Wanda's chaos magic is equally elusive. Chaos magic can modify the power of reality, and it is definitely not worse than the power of infinite gems. There is also the power of infinite gems, which can not only destroy the world, but also create the world. The ghost knows the consequences of this collision. Tanjiro Zalman. There are things that Mr. Immortal doesn't even know. Tony Stark. It seems that the power of infinite gems is far stronger than I thought. Yun Yun. Mr. Immortal means life and death are unpredictable, everything depends on the result of collision? Senju Chongsheng. Yes, infinite gems and chaos magic both represent infinite possibilities. With the communication in the chat group, the crack in front of me began to slowly dim. Finally, after a blur, the world on the other side of the barrier finally appeared in front of everyone. What caught your eye was a man kneeling on the ground, looking up at the sky. He has black and white hair, combed into a big back. A white suit with lavender lining, bloodline flowing on his body, dyeing the sleeves a little bright red. He covered his arm, with a silly smile on his face. But the next moment, he was taken aback for a while, staring at everything around him in a daze. When he saw Senju Chongsheng, his voice was hoarse and he said in disbelief, "No, Mr. Immortal. Is it really you? Thank you so much for saving me." The man grinned, and even some tears appeared in his eyes. Hearing that, Senju Chongsheng suddenly felt a little confused. Who is this guy? Observation Haki detected it, and the familiar aura of the other party surprised him slightly. This guy, it seems to be Kira Jiying after changing his head, right? What the hell is it? Kira Yoshikage changed his head, wasn't it after Chungtaro and others pursued him? For a while, Senju Chongsheng was a little confused. What is going on? Kira Jiying? how did you become like this? Senju frowned. Thanks to Mr. Immortal for his rescue. I thought you would never come to save me again. I was wrong at the beginning and I shouldn't go back. Kira Jiying covered the wound on his arm and smiled bitterly. Sure enough, there are many of the same stand-in messengers in my world. His words were only one-sided, but Senju Chongsheng thought quickly. No matter how you look at it, it feels like Kira Yoshikage has returned to the JoJo world, and then spent a long time, and was chased by Seitaro and others. From the words of Kira Jiying, it seems that he refused to save Kira Jiying? Could it be that the time velocity of the plane is different? But when did Kira Jiying go back? And Wanda and Ji? Senju has many questions in his mind. Everyone next to him was equally dumbfounded, and didn't understand what was going on. It's not just Kira Jiying that is weird, but also the city behind him. The original Big Pit, at this moment, has reappeared on the scale of a city, with people coming and going, and flowers blooming. Such a scene surpassed everyone's expectations. What about nothingness or ruins? Why does it look like nothing happened? Could it be that a few of them have crossed? It's been a long time since I saw you all. I thought you were all dead. At this moment, the familiar marinated fairy walked with a group of S.H.I.E.L.D. agents with a smile. Captain America Steve Rogers immediately stepped forward and shook Farah's palm lightly. Hello Chief, I want to know what the hell is going on, Rogers asked actively. Fury smiled and glanced at the people, her eyes became a little weird. Should I ask you, how did you survive? Farah's question has left Senju with countless speculations in his heart. 1 year? What are you talking about? Rogers was a little surprised. It seems that the situation is a bit complicated. Tony took off some steel suits and walked slowly. This guy is Kira Jiying. It seems that this incident is not just Tony's world. I am afraid that our world is also having problems, Beatrice said lightly. It's really messy. Senju sighed. Judging from the faces of Fairy and others, Senju Chongsheng can be regarded as understanding a little. It seems that the things experienced by both sides seem to be a little different. It seems that the people on Fury's side have crossed, or the people on Senju Chongsheng's side have crossed. 1 year? At Senju Chongsheng and the others, it was only a day and a night. Mage Ji, I need to find her, Senju Chongsheng interrupted the uproar surrounding people. There is only one person who can know about this right now, and that is Ji. Everything you want to know, I can tell you. Come in, everyone. At this time, a golden aperture suddenly appeared. It was Ji's teleportation magic. On the other side of the circle, Ji had already made tea and looked at a group of old acquaintances with a smile on his face. Senju Chongsheng and others walked in without hesitation. Everyone wanted to know what happened. Everyone have a cup of tea, calm down and listen to me. Ji smiled kindly and motioned everyone to drink tea. Things are a bit complicated. If we have to say it simply, our parallel universe is out of order. Ji sighed, not giving everyone a chance to ask questions, and continued. The parallel universe will be explained later. Let me talk about the beginning of the disorder. Our story is that Loki uses space gems, Wanda uses chaos magic, Kira Jiying uses mind gems, and I use time gems. Under the collision of the four, there was an energy explosion, and then, Mr. Immortal, you interrupted this explosion wave by shattering the space. Thank you for reading this story at mtlarchive.com. Your support enables us to keep the site running. Chapter 96 Kira Jiying that has been tampered with. Ji's words echoed in the silent room. What she said at the opening made Senju directly understand. The Ji, Kira Jiying, Fury and others in front of me are actually from other parallel universes. In the Marvel universe, there are multiple universes. Ji has a powerful magical ability and can see the future of the multiverse, so he can explain all this to everyone. Senju's shock fruit directly splits the Earth in half. The Earth on the other side overlaps with the Earth in other universes, resulting in different experiences on both sides. On the side of Senju Chongsheng and others, Kira Jiying uses space gems, and Wanda uses spiritual gems. As for Loki, he was completely a little boss that was affected. But in the cosmic world of Gui, Loki controls the space gem, and Kira Jiying controls the soul gem. I just heard Fury say that 1 year has passed on your side? Senju Chongsheng took a deep breath and asked calmly. Ji nodded a little. Yes. It seems that we are not only different in the parallel universe, but also in time. It's just a day passed on our side, Senju Chongsheng said solemnly. He thought about more things than Ji said. Marvel has multiple universes, but Kira Jiying is not a person in the Marvel world. After he comes to Marvel, he will also exist in other Marvel universes? If this is the case, isn't it true that there are other Marvel universes that are exactly the same as Senju Chongsheng? There is even a 10,000 Worlds chat group? If this is the case, Senju Chongsheng suddenly feels uncomfortable in his heart. Is the other self really himself? Kira, tell me what's your situation? Did you go back to your own world and talk with another me in the chat group? Senju Chongsheng suddenly turned his head and asked the injured Kira Yoshikage. Kira Jiying nodded and said, it should be. As for whether that is another Mr. Immortal, I don't know, or... I'm posting a sentence in the group now, and see if you can receive it? Yes, you can post it. As Senju's voice fell, a message appeared directly in the chat group. Kira 1. Able to receive, which means that you are Kira in our group, but only one day has passed on my side, and you have spent a year? Senju Zhongsheng pinched his chin and lost his thoughts. This thing is too much brainstorming, and the confusion of the Marvel Universe is easy to understand. But the question of chat group members is somewhat difficult to understand. Tell me everything you have encountered this year, Senju Zhongsheng said directly. Unexpectedly, Kira Jiying behaved very obediently, and he carefully recounted what happened this year. It turned out that after the space was shattered by Senju Zhongsheng, Wanda fell directly into a coma and has not yet awakened. And Loki took away the space gem and the soul gem, not knowing where he went. Only Ji Yuyi was strong and kept the gem of time. It was also the only one who was awake among the three of them. Ji Yuyi could not awaken Wanda, but awakened Kira Jiying. Then Fury picked up Wanda, and Ji Yuyi returned to Kamatage. Kira Jiying boarded the chat group and got in touch with everyone. But Senju Zhongsheng let him stay in the Marvel world, saying that in Kira Jiying's world, there are many stand-ins who will hunt him down. Kira Jiying was puzzled. He had never done anything bad, why he was hunted down. It's a pity, no matter how he asks, Senju Zhongsheng just doesn't want to say it. After a long period of time and effort, Kira Jiying finally insisted on returning to his own world and becoming an ordinary office worker. Have you done anything bad? I still don't want to say why? Hearing this, Senju Zhongsheng looked a little weird. Thinking about it, I am afraid there is only one possibility. That is, Kira Jiying has been brainwashed by the soul gem. Even some of the previous memories have been tampered with. It seems that there really is another me, probably because of my different decisions at that time and the different world lines that came out of it. Senju Zhongsheng said inwardly and continued to listen to the story behind. Sure enough, the following things also confirmed his conjecture. Not long after Kira went back, he found that someone was actually investigating him and even said something inexplicable. Saying he is a murderous madman, he has to pay for it or something. A hunting game officially begins. Kira Jiying found that the opponent's stand-in ability was extremely powerful and could even stop time and kill him invisibly. Then Kira Jiying became what he is now through the ability of others to stand for. Forced to use the identity of others to live, there is also a wolf-like wife and a son with a high intelligence quotient. Of course, the so-called wife and son have nothing to do with him. In order to be able to go to work normally, Kira Jiying is performing skills every day. But in the end, it was discovered by his son that he was a fake father. The group of people who chased him also cooperated with his son to kill him. The two sides fought wits and bravely. Kira Jiying's stand-in ability was once again awakened, and he obtained the third bomb loser dust. With this ability, Kira Jiying survived several catastrophes. In the end, he was suppressed by everyone because of his son's superior skills. Kira Jiying asked the group for help, but Senju refused. Just as Kira Jiying covered her beautiful palm, staring at the blue sky, waiting for death. The scene of the sky changed in vain. Looking at the surrounding scenes, it was the scene where I met Senju Zhongsheng just now. Huh? Your beautiful palms? Senju Zhongsheng was shocked, his heart screamed. Can this be done? Of course, don't you think that my hands are the most beautiful directly? Kira Jiying is like pervert, with her palms on her face, rubbing obsessively. No wonder he would put Kira Jiying back. It turned out that it was not just tampering with Kira Jiying's memory. He also changed his aesthetics of things. Kira Jiying is still a hand fetish, but he thinks that his hands are the most beautiful. On the premise of not changing his habit, Kira Jiying successfully lost his murderous thoughts. Ahem. It's very beautiful. Senju Zhongsheng's mouth twitched slightly and coughed slightly, without denying it. It seems that this result is more perfect than his plan to capture Kira Jiying's ability. The reason why he wants to kill Kira Jiying is purely because this person is very dangerous to society. Want to seize his power, but also because the ability of the Killer Queen is very bug. But the situation is obviously different now. Kira Jiying no longer has the danger to the society, and he follows Senju's instructions very much. Thank you for reading this story at mtlarchive.com. Your support enables us to keep the site running. Chapter 97 Agent Kira's loser dust. Kira Jiying will no longer kill people out of control, and Senju naturally has no need to continue killing people to seize the ability. If you have trouble in the future, you can let Kira Jiying go to work, which saves Senju Zhongsheng himself. And Kira Jiying, who awakens the third bomb, is more terrifying than before. That's an ability to turn back time. You don't plan to go back to your own world anymore? Senju Zhongsheng looked at Kira Jiying and asked again. Yes, I am willing to follow Mr. Immortal's arrangement. Kira Jiying stood up and bowed. Senju Zhongsheng nodded. If that's the case, then you can stay in this world. Maybe it's good to be an agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. He smiled and looked at the braised egg fairy in the distance. Fairy had previously looked for Kira Jiying. You don't need to guess that Fury is attracted to Kira Jiying's abilities and wants to win over Kira Jiying. Kira Jiying, who now has the third bomb, can be said to be a perfect agent, and he is still the kind of undercover agent. The Killer Queen's third bomb can only be possessed by people who have no substitute ability. If A, who is possessed by the Killer Queen, reveals Kira Jiying's information to B. Then B will explode and die on the spot. And A's time will flow back 1 hour ago at this moment. The previously exploded B will also be resurrected, but after an hour, even if there is no information about Kira, it will still explode. If after B explodes, Kira Jiying takes back his stand-in and will no longer have time against the flow, then B will die forever. After the time goes back, the person possessed by the Killer Queen will retain the memory, and the others will not be able to retain the memory. What happened before the retrospect must happen after the retrospect, but the form is not limited. This ability is definitely an undercover material. Once Kira Jiying's identity is known to the opponent, he will possess the Killer Queen. As long as this person reveals Kira Jiying's information to others, he will indirectly kill his teammates. Kill with a knife. It can even destroy each other indirectly. No problem. Does shield work? It seems to be a good job too. Kira Jiying smiled and tidied up the white suit. He likes going to work the most, especially the work in suits and work clothes, which will give him a sense of ritual. Ha ha ha. Thank you Mr. Immortal for your support, and welcome Mr. Kira to join. Fury came with a big laugh and shook Kira Jiying's palm lightly, not afraid that he would become a bomb. This is Fury's courage. In order to express his sincerity and trust, he dared to take risks personally. The SHIELD agents behind him all sweated for him. We are leaving too. I apologize for the dislocation of the universe. Senju Chongsheng drank the teacup in his hand. It didn't make sense for him to stay here. How to restore this chaotic plane, Senju Chongsheng himself didn't know. Anyway, this is the case, so let's go with the flow. As for the other self, Senju Chongsheng can't find it now, and he doesn't even know whether it exists. Because the Kira Jiying in front of him is the one in his own group, but he is from the future timeline. The simultaneous chaos of plane and time makes this matter complicated and confusing. Senju Chongsheng shook his head. Instead of thinking so much, he might as well not think about it and just go back to Konoha for leisure. I'm gone. I'll see Master Ji Yi next time. Senju Chongsheng smiled and stood up, hoping to see Ji Yi again next time. In the story of Doctor Strange, Ji Yi gave up his life and passed on the position of Supreme Mage to Doctor Strange. Senju didn't know why Ji Yi would voluntarily give up his life. The original work did not reveal the details. Maybe she was tired, or it might be because Doctor Strange inherited her clothes. It is also possible that it has drawn too much dark energy. Goodbye, I'll give you a ride. Ji Yi replied with a smile, and immediately swiped his fingertips, and there were several more teleportation arrays. Kira Jiying followed Fury back to SHIELD, while Senju Chongsheng and others returned to Tony's house. Seeing Senju's return from Chongsheng, the little Hinata immediately ran over with small broken steps, relying on his hand. The shock from the outside world just now was too terrifying. Even though the place where Senju Chongsheng and others fought is far away, they can still feel the spatial fluctuations. Senju Chongsheng looked at Tsunade and Hinata and asked, the mission is over. Should I go back now or stay here for a few more days? Forget it, little Hinata seems to be a little frightened, so let's go back to Konoha, lest his family worry about it. Tsunade shrugged and looked at Hinata gently. That's okay, let's go back first. Senju Chongsheng directly clicked on the group traversal function and turned around and said before leaving. When you go back, click on the traverse function yourself. Only after you go back, the task reward will be settled to you. After all, he took the two girls Tsunade and Hinata directly into the purple-black channel. We are gone too. How about you Shajichu? Beatrice said lightly. Shiyu Shajichu, who was lying on the ground studying the drawings, waved his hand. I will wait for Tony to come back and ask him for more drawings before leaving. The Marvel journey finally ended, and Senju Chongsheng and others returned to the familiar Konoha Village. Kira Jiying stayed in the Marvel world and became a SHIELD agent. As for his mission points, he had already got it when he returned to the JoJo world a year ago. Beatrice also got 100,000 points as she wished, in exchange for Domom's dark magic. But to say that the biggest gain this time is actually Shajichu Shiyu. Not only did she successfully get 100,000 points, she also got many armor drawings, and she was completely obsessed with mechanical development. Before leaving the Marvel world, she tried to absorb aura in the Marvel world and found that her cultivation speed was not too fast, but not slow. After inquiring about Senju Chongsheng, she learned that her talent is in the realm of cultivating immortals, and she actually has some qualifications. Such good news made her very excited. There is no need to worry about the lifespan. Next, she devoted all her energy to armor development. Even writing was abandoned. In addition to studying, he consulted a large amount of physics materials to show his aptitude as a master of learning to the fullest. Later, Genos uploaded the new technology drawings to the group through Saitama. Both Tony and Kasumigoka chose to download, and their knowledge level grew at an alarming rate. Tony even directly started the research of new armor. The technology of One Punch World is no worse than Tony's, and there is also a world where robots are rampant. The collision of two technologies will definitely produce new things. Thank you for reading this story at mtlarchive.com. Your support enables us to keep the site running. Chapter 98 Hokage World. Outside Konoha Village, there was a rustling sound among the lush woods. The black figure shuttled quickly inside. The black shadow stepped on the tree trunk, as light as a feather, only alarmed by a small voice. Huh. A man with a crown-like face fell to the ground, his icy eyes seemingly without a hint of color. Next to him is also a handsome man, who looks older. But there was a spring-like smile on his face, showing two extremes compared with the former. Both of them wore red clouds and black robes, with collars higher than their necks, and they looked a bit mysterious. Come out, I've been with you for so long. The cold-faced man turned his head in vain and said coldly. Tread. A figure wearing the same robe walked out, the complexion on his face was grayish-blue, and there were fishgill-like lines under his eyes. The whole face looked like a human-shaped shark. Hoshigaki Kisame. A member of Akatsuki's organization. Mr. Itachi, you knew I was following, right? Kisame didn't show any panic, but asked calmly. With Itachi's strength, how could he not be able to discover his existence? The reason why he came out of Konoha Village to call him out is definitely for another purpose. Yes, I knew you were following us a long time ago. If you are not afraid, just follow along. Itachi's voice was cold, without a trace of emotion in it. Brother Shisui, let's go. The moment his voice fell, his figure also flashed. Shisui was still smiling like a spring breeze, and also suddenly disappeared in place. Seeing the two entering Konoha, Kisame was silent for a few seconds before quickly following. Longevity home. The room was peaceful and peaceful. Tsunade was soaking tea skillfully with a quiet smile on his face. Several years have passed since Marvel's first battle. After returning to Konoha, Hinata practiced more actively than before, which drove Tsunade's enthusiasm. Tsunade, who can quiet down, still fits what Senju Chongsheng expects in his heart when there are no outsiders. Gentle lady, sweet and quiet. Little Hinata practices flowing water-breaking rock fist outside the courtyard, drawing water waves in the air. The speed is not fast but slow, and there is a sense of offensive and defensive tai chi. This is a brand new boxing technique she created by combining gentle fist and flowing water-broken rock fist. While possessing good offensive and defensive power, the movements are also much softer, which is very suitable for women. Senju Chongsheng nodded slightly and took a sip of tea. Suddenly, he frowned. Looking at the other side of the yard, he said with a faint smile, I'm back. I haven't seen you for so long. How did you shrink your head and tail? As his voice fell, three figures walked out of the shadows at the same time. The three people in front of them were uniformly dressed, with red clouds and black robes. It was Itachi and others who were just outside Konoha Village. Teacher. Itachi saluted respectfully, and the frost on his face disappeared at this moment, as he respected from the heart as before. It's been a long time since I saw Mr. Immortal. This is the ninja who came with us, named Hoshigaki Kisame. Shisui smiled, and while saluting respectfully, he directly revealed the identity of Kisame. Kisame, who was pronounced the name, suddenly stiffened, and the stormy sea turned up in his heart. The title of Mr. Immortal has long been circulated in the shinobi world. It is said that before Konoha was founded, he had been alive. Now it is Konoha's immortal god, guarding Konoha to this day. What surprised Kisame the most was that the young man in front of him was actually the legendary Mr. Immortal. Senju Chongsheng Feng Qingyun glanced at Kisame lightly, nodded slightly, without intending to do anything. This made Kisame let out a sigh of relief, and he also saluted respectfully, not daring to do anything out of line. Although the opponent did not release any chakra, Kisame felt a sense of pressure in his heart. It was as if there was an invisible big hand floating above his head. Why do you bring gifts when you come back? Senju Chongsheng's joking words made Kisame, who had just breathed a sigh of relief, his heart hung again. Be good. This joke is a bit scary. Could it be true that Itachi set him a trap? But immediately after thinking about it, Kisame shook his head again. He respects Itachi very much in his heart, and it is impossible for him to think of setting a trap for himself. The teacher joked, Kisame is my friend, it's not a gift. The reason why I brought him here is that you can let Konoha take him. Itachi straightened his waist and said, neither overbearing nor overbearing. As soon as this remark came out, Tsunade couldn't help but act while making tea, and Kisame himself was a little surprised. No one except Shisui expected that Itachi would actually make such a request. Kisame is Kirigakure's betrayal. The existence of the word betrayal makes any ninja nowhere to stay. Let Konoha accept Kisame is definitely an amazing and impossible proposal. The reason why Kisame became a rebel is because he killed his teammates. At the beginning, he and his teammates were surrounded by Konoha Morino Ibiki. He knew that these teammates would never be able to bear Marina Ibiki's torture. Even he couldn't bear it. Konoha's Morino Ibiki is known as a torturer, and his methods are cruel but not fatal. None of the ninjas he interrogated can keep secrets. In addition to the few teammates of Kisame, he is very familiar and clear that these people have too poor willpower. In order to keep Kirigakure's secrets, Kisame had to kill all his teammates, and finally committed suicide by jumping off the cliff. It's just that he shouldn't be dead. After jumping off the cliff, he did not die, but survived by luck. After that, he even killed the watermelon mountain pufferfish who had collided with the enemy. Everything he did was to protect Kirigakure. It's a pity that his behavior is not understood by the name of the Water Country. Later, he was accused of killing the name of Water Country and became an S-rank rebel. No one understands Kisame, but Itachi understands and tolerates it. There are also different levels of understanding about the killing of compatriots. Since then, Kisame has extremely respected Uchiha Itachi in his heart. He felt that Itachi was the only person in this world who could truly understand him. Hearing Itachi's words, Senju Chongsheng didn't show any consternation and was still calm. He is very clear about Kisame's deeds. This person's heart is not bad, but because of his rebellious identity, he wanders around. Join Konoha. It's not impossible, but how can you ensure that he won't become a rebel again? Senju Chongsheng smiled lightly. In fact, letting Kisame join Konoha is just a sentence. But he wanted to know, if he didn't help out, what would Itachi and Shisui do? If Mr. Immortal is not at ease, I can use Mangekyo to control him. At this moment, Shisui, who stood quietly and smiled, said first. Thank you for reading this story at mtlarchive.com. Your support enables us to keep the site running. Chapter 99 Shisui's Mangekyo Sharingan ability is Distinguished Heavenly Gods. Can make all the people seen by the caster turn into his puppets. He can directly invade the opponent's brain and modify the opponent's will without being discovered by the opponent. This ability is exactly the same as the Soul Gem. From Shisui's decisiveness just now, it can be seen that he and Itachi are determined to save Kisame. Akatsuki's organization is very deep, and Itachi and Shisui are going to be undercover, not really taking refuge in Akatsuki. Therefore, they all hope that Kisame, who is not bad at heart, can get out of this deep water. Senju Chongsheng chuckled slightly. Okay, but if something goes wrong in the future, you too will be responsible. Let Kisame join Konoha, multiple hitters will not do any harm. Even if Kisame wants to do something, Senju Chongsheng has the ability to suppress it. This is not conceit, but self-confidence in one's own strength. Just like humans, they don't fear an ant to turn the sky. No problem. With Senju Chongsheng's consent, Itachi and Shisui replied in unison. Kisame was a little shocked, and he agreed to such a big incident. Is this a big heart or self-confidence? For Konoha, this is not a small matter. Does Mr. Immortal in Konoha Village have the absolute right to speak? Thank you very much for Mr. Immortal's acceptance. I will not repay you in the next. If you use my place in the future, please do not hesitate to give orders. Kisame is not someone who has never seen the world before. Although his brain is buzzing, he still stepped forward to thank him for the first time. The etiquette is very well done. Come with me, today is Konoha's third Chunin exam. Everyone is in the field. Senju Chongsheng stood up and said to everyone with a smile. Hokage's plotline has officially started a few years ago, and Naruto has also returned from experience with Kakashi. Today happened to be the third match of the Chunin exam, and Hinata has successfully passed the first two exams. If it weren't for Hinata to have a game, Senju Chongsheng would really not bother to watch it. The Konoha test arena is located in the center of Konoha. The talents of Senagakure and Konoha Village are all taking exams here. Because Konoha is the leader of the 5 ninja villages, only if he passes the exams here can he truly possess Chunin's strength. To put it bluntly, it is an authoritative certification. Several senior leaders from Senagakure came, and even 4th Kazekage came. At this moment, the arena was crowded with villagers watching the game, and many contestants sneered at each other. 4th Hokage and 4th Kazekage, sitting together in the highest spectator stand, talked happily. Retired Sarutobi Hiruzen is also sitting here, smoking a pipe in silence. There is also the one-eyed Poros, who wears a cloak and coats that completely covers his figure and appearance. Konoha is really the cradle of geniuses. Konoha accounts for more than half of the geniuses who advance to the third round. 4th Kazecage's voice is a little hoarse, and the words are somewhat intriguing. Thank you for your appreciation. Although Senagakure has not advanced much, it is indeed at the forefront of strength. An elite is worth a few ordinary people, Namikaze Minato replied with a chuckle. I agree with this very much, as long as it is strong enough, one person can also be worth 1,000 troops. At this time, Senju Chongsheng walked up with everyone and looked at Feng Ying with twinkling eyes. Feng Ying's body suddenly stiffened as he sensed Senju Chongsheng's gaze. When he saw the person behind Senju Chongsheng, his pupils shrank even more. His subtle changes couldn't escape Senju Chongsheng's eyes. Interesting. Knowing that I am here, I dare to come. I want to see, what are you going to do next? Senju Chongsheng almost laughed out loud. The wind shadow in front of him was actually replaced by Orochimaru just like the original. Right now Konoha's 3rd generation and 4th generation items are there, and Senju Jangsang is guarding Konoha. He wondered, why did Orochimaru dare to come over and make trouble? Now behind Senju Chongsheng, there are Uchiha Itachi and Uchiha Shisui. I'm afraid Orochimaru's plan will be overwhelmed. He wanted to see, Orochimaru still dare not do it. Of course, whether Orochimaru does it or not, he will definitely not be able to leave Konoha today. Senju Chongsheng and others took their seats. Tsunade cheered for Hinata who entered the arena by the fence. But the 3 of Itachi looked at Orochimaru with weird eyes. It made him feel uncomfortable on pins and needles. Master Fengying, what's the matter? Namikaze Minato asked curiously. No. Nothing, the old problem, ha 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 ha. Orochimaru slightly sweated on his forehead and laughed awkwardly. The appearance of Itachi and Shisui can be said to have set off a stormy sea in Orochimaru's mind. Why are these two people here? There is also Hoshigaki Kisame, aren't the three of them from Akatsuki? The three rebels stood here openly, why no one came to take care of them? Shisui and Itachi are back. They haven't seen each other for many years. By the way, this is... Namikaze Minato actually knows Kisame, but this person was brought by Mr. Immortal, and he can only pretend not to know him. See what Mr. Immortal said. His name is Hoshigaki Kisame, Kirigakure's betrayal. I plan to let him join Konoha, Senju said in a calm tone. Join Konoha? Namikaze Minato was a little surprised and almost thought he had heard it wrong. Betrayal. This term means that no one takes in. Is Konoha going to be the first village to take in Shinobu? Is this something wrong? Namikaze Minato was embarrassed, but he didn't dare to veto it. Sarutobi Hiruzen, who was lying on the side smoking a pipe, hummed softly. The old man also feels wrong. If something goes wrong, who will be responsible? We are responsible. Itachi replied coldly. You are responsible? Who do you think you are? Two ninjas who have not come back from the village for so many years. Do you think Konoha will believe you? Sarutobi Hiruzen breathed out smoke. His tone became more severe, and he made no secret of his distrust of Itachi and others. In the entire Konoha village, I am afraid that only Senju Chongsheng dared to trust Itachi and Shisui. Even Namikaze Minato cannot guarantee that the two will continue to be loyal to Konoha. When you retire, you will be retired. It is not your turn to question my disciples' affairs. Senju Chongsheng's eyes closed slightly, and his smile was chilly. For a time, it was filled with the smell of gunpowder. Ahem. The game has started. Let's watch the game first. We will discuss other things after the end. Namikaze Minato hurriedly finished the round and smiled gently. It is said that Hinata, the disciple of Mr. Immortal, is the favorite to win this game. Sarutobi Hiruzen and Orochimaru were silent at the same time, and at the same time they cast their eyes on the field. By the time they communicated, the game had been going on for several times. Hinata and Neji walked onto the field at the same time, their eyes full of fighting spirit. Neji wants to stand up for the branch house, while Hinata must do everything in order not to lose Master's face. Thank you for reading this story at mtlarchive.com. Your support enables us to keep the site running. Chapter 100. Going to the toilet together? With an order from the examiner. Neji didn't say much, just stepped forward, like a tiger going down the mountain. Gentle Fist bombarded her sister mercilessly. In such a scene, many sisters yelled at them. Faced with her cute sister, she is so violent and ruthless. It's really heartbreaking to tears of men and women. Snapped. There was a clash of fist and palms, and the fierce fist wind and thunderous fist speed made the audience exclaim in an uproar. But these are full of flaws in front of Hinata, wow. Hinata started moving, and streams of water circulated around him. It seems fast and slow, offensive and defensive are united. Neji's attack was completely blocked by Hinata, and the two men criss-crossed with fists and legs. In just a few minutes, the two had already fought for 100 rounds. It looked like the game was inextricably hard to understand, and the audience enjoyed it very much. But Neji's complexion became more gloomy, and he felt that Hinata had no intention of attacking at all. This laid-back attitude is very humiliating to Neji. If you don't have to do your best, it would be a humiliation to me. Neji yelled loudly. Gentle Fist Method 8 trigrams 128 palms. Since I knew that Hinata had worshipped Senju Chongsheng as a teacher. Neji felt great pressure. The name of Mr. Immortal is legendary in Konoha. He wanted to win over the little princess of the Zong family in this Chunin exam to establish his prestige for the branch house. Then you must work harder, otherwise he will be surpassed by his silly white sweet sister at any time. Gentle Fist Method 8 trigrams 128 palms is the result of his hard work over the years. Success or failure depends on this, he has to decide the outcome with one move to end this boring game. Snapped. A clear applause echoed in the arena. Hinata directly slapped the first palm that Neji slapped. And the strength was so strong that it even affected Neji's second palm. Master said that no matter what kind of move it is, it must not be set in stone and follow the schedule, otherwise it will be full of loopholes. Hinata's delicate voice blasted through Neji's mind like a thunder. I saw Hinata punch out abruptly, drawing a tiny waterline with the water wave. The attack of this punch, both in strength and speed, was far more fierce than before. Hinata's pink fist hit Neji's face impressively. Boom. A huge impact caused Neji's head to lean back sharply, and his figure flew out. He directly smashed the wall with his body, and his whole person was embedded in the wall. No one thought that Hinata, who looked weak, could burst out with such terrifying power. The examiner immediately jumped into the arena, and after a few glances, he made a gesture to announce Hinata's victory. Wow. What's the matter? Didn't you play well just now? Why did Neji suddenly fall? Should it be a counterfeit match? Is the little princess of the Hyuga family so strong? No, Neji really lost consciousness. Hi, I didn't expect it. There was an uproar among the masses, and there was a lot of discussion. Hyuga Hiyashi even smiled, happily enjoying the admiration of the people around him. The disciples taught by Mr. Immortal are really excellent. I want Naruto to worship you as a teacher for everything. On the second floor, Namikaze Minato exclaimed in maroon. If Naruto can also worship Senju Chongsheng as a teacher, he will definitely go further. That's ridiculous. As for the apprenticeship, I already have 3 disciples. I really don't have the thought of accepting disciples anymore. Senju Chongsheng responded indifferently, without much change on his face. After a few seconds of silence, he turned his head in vain to look at Feng Ying, and smiled. When will it begin? Orochimaru was taken aback, and a terrible thought suddenly appeared in his heart. Shouldn't he be discovered? Fuck, you all pretend to be like this, can you still see through? Even Sanagakure's people can't recognize his real body, how did Senju Chongsheng do it? What started? Orochimaru pretends to be calm and speaks as little as possible to avoid being tricked by the other party. Don't start yet. Then wait. Senju Chongsheng smiled and said, by the way, if you don't start again, the game will be over. I don't know what you were talking about. Orochimaru continued to play stupid, but his back was wet with cold sweat. He has realized that his identity has definitely been discovered. At this moment, I was no longer thinking about how to execute Konoha's collapse plan, but to think about how to run away, the crash plan. Break a hammer. If Senju Chongsheng doesn't know his identity, he may be able to use strategy to implement the plan. But now it was discovered in advance by the other party, and there were 3 Akatsuki members who were watching. Orochimaru is no different from giving away heads now. The 4th Hokage, I need to go and come back later. What a shame. Orochimaru never thought that he would have such a daunting day. The excuse is the worst kind. His old face couldn't help turning red. In this Konoha collapse plan, he not only united with Sanagakure, but also brought in the Atonin who had formed privately. Originally, he wanted Sand Shinobi to be cannon fodder to attract Senju Chongsheng's attention. Then he took the Atonin people and attacked 4th Hokage and 3rd Hokage. To be on the safe side, he also reached a cooperative relationship with Madara in the Akatsuki organization. As long as Orochimaru can kill one of Hokage, the other person will immediately show up to help. Otherwise, I will definitely not make a move. No matter how you look at it right now, I'm already cold. Oh, Master Feng Ying is going to the toilet? I'm going to go too. Let's go together. Senju Chongsheng stood up with a smile, and Orochimaru suddenly looked like a cat with fried hair. He was so scared that he had just left the seat butt and sat back. Ahem. I don't seem to be in a hurry anymore, you go first. I beg you to go. Orochimaru's heart was extremely broken, and he was even ready to run away now, without turning his head back. But he was really not sure. The horror of being hunted down once began to come to his mind again. Snapped. Suddenly, Senju Chongsheng's palm pressed against Orochimaru's shoulder. He had cold eyes and said lightly, forget it, you have no chance. In front of me, in the entire shinobi world, there is no existence that can stand against me. Including your Shao organization, the man who claims to be Madara will not be my opponent either. Senju Chongsheng didn't bother to play it anymore, and had a direct showdown with Orochimaru in a cold voice. Namikaze Minato on the side was a little stunned, unable to understand what it was doing. The same is true for Sarutobi Hiruzen. After all, Orochimaru's disguise is too real. This face was carefully polished by Orochimaru through scientific research and technology. How could it be so easy to be seen through? Thank you for reading this story at mtlarchive.com. Your support enables us to keep the site running. Chapter 101 My stupid brother. But even if Orochimaru's disguise is strong, it won't have any effect in front of Senju Jongsei. Who calls him a traverser? Although the storyline will change, there are still general directions and speculations. Senju Chongsheng originally planned to see how Orochimaru would deal with the current situation, but he was thinking of buggering? In this case, there is no need to continue watching. Mr. Immortal, what are you doing? Namikaze Minato has a solemn face. Although he is asking questions, he is actually ready to take action against Feng Ying. Even the 3rd generation item on the side is the same. The pipe has been gently placed on the table by him, and his eyes are locked on Orochimaru. Senju Chongsheng is the immortal god of Konoha, and he will never do oolong things. Regardless of what he posted, prepare in advance, it's not wrong. At this moment, on the 2nd floor viewing stand, everyone's eyes were locked on Orochimaru. His complexion was extremely gloomy, and he glanced at the game below the stage. Sasuke had already played with Gaara at the same time and started a fight. Tisk, it's almost there, I can only bite the bullet. Orochimaru's face turned harsh, and chakra surged out all over his body in an instant. In an instant, everyone's eyes condensed, and they rushed towards Orochimaru one after another. Dead Bone Pulse Tang Song Dance. Orochimaru gave a violent shout, and several parts of his body suddenly shot out white bone spurs, so fast that it was hard to catch with the naked eye. Chi 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 chi. Bones were pierced from Orochimaru's body, and it was Senju Jongsei standing in front of him that was the first to bear the brunt. Dead bone pulse. Senju Chongsheng was a little surprised. Isn't Orochimaru in front of him, but Kimimaro? Call out. Call out. Call out. While he was thinking, the speed in his hands was not slow. When the bone spurs were about to touch him, Senju Chongsheng directly reached out and grabbed the bone spurs from the puncture, and used the idol to restrain the prison. The arm was slightly hard, and the blood soared. Boom. The bone spurs were severely broken by Senju, and at a speed fast enough to drag out the afterimage, grabbing the opponent's broken bone spurs, quickly split the opponent's remaining bones. The sound of bone fracture sounded one after another, until the last pierced white bone was split. Laugh. Senju Chongsheng held the bone spurs, and his movements changed accordingly, piercing into the opponent's neck lifeline. Strangely, there was no trace of bloodline flowing from the opponent. Let me see if you are Orochimaru or Kimimaro, Senju Chongsheng said inwardly. The evil king's true eyes suddenly shone with golden light, passing through the camouflage on this person's face. A young teenager appeared in front of Senju Chongsheng. On this person's white face, there are still a series of black curse marks crawling around. The half of the face covered by the curse imprint showed different expressions, especially the eyes that looked like snake pupils. So that's it, parasite? You deserve it, Orochimaru? Senju Chongsheng gave a faint smile, and the terrifying aura crushed towards Orochimaru, making it difficult for him to move. He was right, he was both Orochimaru and Kimimaro. It's just that Orochimaru has been parasitic on Kimimaro, and the two coexist at the same time. As for how Orochimaru did it, naturally it was through the power of the curse. In the original book, Orochimaru was resurrected many times with the curse seal. Parasitic coexistence is actually not difficult for him. Call. The hurricane of aura blew by, and the disguise on Orochimaru's face was also blown away by the aura, revealing that youthful appearance. Fourth Hokage and others have gathered around, with a look of doubt on their faces. They have never seen this person. Where is this Orochimaru? Is it possible that Mr. Immortal really got it wrong? Boom. In the game, Gaara seemed to get the signal, and in the battle with Sasuke, he directly used the tail beast. 100 Zhongshuhei stood in his position, hitting the audience with the palm of his hand, and flew dozens of ninjas on the spot. The sudden situation caused the civilians watching to exclaim in exclamation, and fled towards the exit one after another. Quick! Run away! What happened? Why is there a tail beast here? Monster, that Sand Shinobi who came to take the exam is a monster. Lord Ninja, help! What is Sand Shinobi Village going to do? Are they going to start a war? It's terrible. The civilians fled around, pale with fright. A good Chunin exam became a disaster for Konoha. The Anbu ninjas rushed in collectively, all kinds of colorful ninjutsu pouring out, to suppress the one-tailed Shuhei. One tail is the weakest among the 9-tailed beasts. Konoha's ninjas can't handle 9 tails, but one tail can still hold them. HMPH, how can you transform? The loser will always be the loser, lightning-style Chidori. During the game, Sasuke sneered. There was a flash of thunder in the palm, and the sound of Chidori chirping lingered around it. He urged his strongest blow and rushed towards one-tail Shuhei. The momentum seemed to kill Shohei on the spot. Sasuke, I'll help you. At this moment, a blonde young man jumped out, sealed his hands, and used multiple shadow clone techniques. It is the son of Namikaze Minato, Uzumaki Naruto. Because he is the only line of the Uzumaki clan, he directly inherits the Uzumaki surname. Of course, the Uzumaki surname is more noble among Konoha, and it has a slight influence. The clone followed Naruto and rubbed the classic Rasengan on his palm. The two were located before and after the guard crane, and at the same time poured the chakra energy in their hands into their bodies, bursting out strong chakra fluctuations. It's boring. Grandpa finally came out once, and I will never be sealed by you again and die to my grandpa. Shuhei opened his pouring mouth and uttered something. It roared, and the tail beast chakra soared out, and flew the Sasuke and Naruto's joint attack on the spot. Rumble. The two of them flew upside down and smashed into the chairs in the auditorium, gritted their teeth in pain. On the second floor of the auditorium, when Uchiha Itachi saw his stupid brother, he and the other bear kid actually worked on the tail beast together. The corners of his mouth twitched slightly, and his heart felt weak. Itachi glanced at Orochimaru who was surrounded, and immediately a body flicker technique was activated and flashed down in front of Sasuke. The brothers hadn't seen each other for many years, and they felt familiar and unfamiliar. When Itachi came back to Konoha, in addition to wanting to see Senju Chongsheng, he also wanted to see where his brother had grown up. My stupid brother, the existence of tail beasts is not something you can defeat now. When Uchiha Itachi spoke, it was full of sarcasm. Although he intended to care about Sasuke, the way he spoke was really embarrassing. Sasuke snorted, looking a little impatient with his brother who hadn't seen him for a long time. Because of Itachi's sudden departure, Sasuke's heart was lost, and his father's importance to his elder brother. As a result, Sasuke now feels more jealous and hostile towards Itachi. Thank you for reading this story at mtlarchive.com. Your support enables us to keep the site running. Chapter 102 Orochimaru's Heaven and Earth Curse Seal. Don't worry about it, I will surpass you soon. Sasuke resisted the pain and stood up. Seeing his stubborn brother, Itachi didn't blame him. He turned around and looked at the one tail that was raging in the arena. Itachi decided to let Sasuke see how powerful he was. He turned his back to Sasuke and said, "You have a long way to go if you want to surpass me. I'll show you the true power of our Uchiha." As Itachi's voice fell, a chill of ultimate chakra began to surge out of his body. Sasuke didn't take it seriously at first, but as Uchiha Itachi's chakra became more and more vast, Sasuke had to pay attention to it. Then, under Sasuke's shocked gaze, the crimson chakra energy surged out, forming an upper body skeleton outside Uchiha Itachi. Chakra looks red, but there is no warmth. All he has is endless gloom and cold. Uchiha Itachi seemed to be standing under the gods, and the cold chakra breath caused the surrounding ninjas to inhale at the same time, attracting everyone's attention. Susanoo. Itachi snorted softly and manipulated Susanoo's crimson skeleton palm, and punched Shuhei to break the empty sound. Boom. Morizuru, who was fighting a ninja in the field, felt a strong wind swept in vain. Huh? What would dare to attack this uncle? As soon as he turned his head, he felt the unmatched strength, and it was printed on the front. Rumble. Shohei's huge body was blown by a punch, knocked through a big hole in the field, and slipped out of a huge gully. The scene was extremely shocking. Uchiha Itachi didn't move, so he directly knocked off the one tail that dozens of Jonin could cope with, shocking many ninjas. He moved again, chasing directly in the direction of Shuhei, and Shen Sheng pursued. At the same time, among the people on the run, hundreds of figures flew out at the same time. They opened the black cloaks on their bodies, revealing their ninja forehead protector. Sand Shinobi and Atonin. Although the situation has changed, their plan still has to go ahead. Everyone quickly fell to their own position, and at the same time their hands were sealed. Sealed enchantments rose up one after another, sealing all the members of the second floor spectators stand inside. The strongest combat power of Konoha Village is here. Except Uchiha Itachi. Today is the day Konoha collapsed. The barrier has been completed, and Konoha's senior leaders will be buried here. Ha 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 ha. Starting today, I will be the hero who destroyed Konoha. Great, I didn't expect it to go so smoothly. The ninjas outside are not strong. Brothers, quickly get rid of them. A crowd of Sand Shinobi and Atonin laughed together, their eyes flashing with excitement. In order to plan this operation, they prepared for too long. Although it is a little different from the plan now, it still managed to trap all the senior Konoha leaders in it. Sitting in his position, Poros stood up calmly and watched what was happening around him. Namikaze Minato and others have realized that this is a premeditated operation. Mr. Immortal, do you know what this is like? Namikaze Minato looked at Senju Chongsheng. He felt that the only one who knew everything was Senju Chongsheng. Senju Chongsheng, who was standing in front of Orochimaru, smiled and said, "This person has been parasitized by Orochimaru. All this was done by him and Sanagakure. There is another village that wants to give us resources. People in this world really like to send warmth." Just before Cloud Shinobi Village died, there was another Sanagakure. As for the Atonin village in Orochimaru, it was ignored by Senju Chongse. Such a poor village will be wiped out at will, and it is not qualified to be a leak at all. Orochimaru. Sarutobi Hiruzen was taken aback for a moment, and obviously didn't expect his disciple to become what he is now. Ha 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 ha. This is the Konoha collapse plan I prepared for you. Orochimaru, who was imprisoned by aura and couldn't move, suddenly laughed loudly. Teacher, I didn't expect it. Today is the present I prepared for you. Pouch. Roots of cold and white bones emerged from him again. Although it was extremely slow by the spiritual pressure, the bones kept growing. Orochimaru endured the powerful oppressive force and tried to break through Senju's longevity aura. Giggle. The sound of broken bones continued to sound, and Orochimaru's face was gradually distorted, showing what kind of severe pain he was suffering. The dense curse imprinted on his face, crawling and squirming, enough to persuade many people with dense phobias. Orochimaru's power began to rise steadily, and more bone spurs appeared in his body, just like a white hedgehog. His skin gradually turned purple-black, like a shriveled corpse. I will let you know what Mr. Immortal is just a joke, when the curse seal of the day and the curse seal of the earth are combined on the same person. Orochimaru's voice was hoarse, and his eyes became fierce and confident. That is the curse of invincibility. My cells will be able to constantly repair and rebirth and become an immortal existence. I am the real immortality. Orochimaru grinned wildly, his body gradually moved, and the terrifying chakra energy made Namikaze Minato feel heart palpitations. Mr. Immortal, do you need me to kill him? Hoshigaki Kisame said suddenly. No need. Senju Zhongsheng rebuffed lightly, and immediately the black shadow flashed, with a loud bang, and slapped Orochimaru on the face. Boom! The terrifying airwave swept out, blowing the robes of the people around them hunting. Half of Orochimaru's face was directly slapped in half, revealing the brains and bones inside. The rotten head is recovering at a speed visible to the naked eye. Have you seen it? This is the power of the heaven and earth curse and seal. No matter how strong your strength is, you will not be able to destroy me. Orochimaru had a grin on half of his face, and his eyes flashed with excitement. He withstood the blow of Senju's longevity. Such a terrifying power is definitely exhausting, right? Orochimaru's heart is extremely excited. This is the power of the cursed seal of heaven and earth, it is too strong. This is the power he has been pursuing, it's really a bit hard, it actually blocked my casual blow. Senju Chongsheng nodded blankly, expressing his approval. As for the strongest blow, it was purely Orochimaru's misunderstanding. Immediately, he looked at Uchiha Shisui and said softly, "He will leave it to you. This guy uses it well and can bring technological reforms to Konoha." Orochimaru's technological level is definitely Tony Stark in the ninja world. Originally, Senju Chongsheng wanted to slap Orochimaru directly to death. But I turned my head and thought, this guy has a lot of methods, and the ghost knows if there are other curse seals to rebirth. Instead of constantly killing and killing, it is better to control and make use of it. It just so happened that Shisui came back today, just let him control it with distinguished heavenly gods. Thank you for reading this story at mtlarchive.com. Your support enables us to keep the site running. Chapter 103 Sign In, 10 Tails Chakra. Speaking of which, Shisui's distinguished heavenly gods has never been shown in this world. It's also time to let the world know that Shisui's power is more than just body flicker technique. The title of distinguished heavenly gods will make the entire ninja world feel terrified. Letting others become 100% puppets is definitely an ability that scares all countries. At this moment, the second floor viewing stand has become a place for others to watch. Outside the enchantment, the ninjas were fighting each other, roaring and roaring, blood staining the sky. Uchiha Itachi drove Susanoo, chasing one tail, and Shuhei violently chasing, destroying a large block of bricks and tiles. The terrifying chakra fluctuations made no one dared to approach this area. Morizaru was beaten so that his head was almost split, and Susanoo of Uchiha Itachi reminded him of the horror of Madara. Damn, what's the matter with this guy? Why does Uchiha Madara's power reappear in him? Boom. While Shuhei was running, he was once again blown away by the scarlet Susanoo, gritted his teeth with pain. The figure of Itachi descended from the sky, and came again to Shuhei with a flame. Uchiha Itachi's eyes were very cold, and he exhaled the dragon fire technique. The flame dragon is also mixed with black flames, which seems to be immortal and endless. Hitomi Surgery Amaterasu. One of Uchiha Itachi's Mangekyo Sharingan abilities has the characteristic that it will not go out unless the burning object is burned out. The black flame fire dragon entangled directly, burning so much that the show crane rolled and barked in place, but could not extinguish the flame. Boom 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 boom. Shuhei was very fast, rolling on the ground with pain, jumping wildly on the building, and crashing through several streets without any advancement. "Ah, Lord, no longer play," Shuhei yelled in pain. Then the figure began to shrink gradually, revealing Gaara's figure, lying in the ruins. It was too hard to stand up. Although this kind of flame could not burn the crane, it was extremely painful. Long-term pain is a kind of torture. Shuhei had to retract back into the seal. Only where can the fire of Amaterasu be extinguished? After finishing the one tail, Uchiha Itachi didn't take Susanoo back. He looked at the chaotic Konoha village with cold eyes. With a movement, he rushed into the crowd with a terrifying aura. It's like a tiger entering a flock, people resist killing. Inside the enchantment, as Senju's voice fell, Uchiha Shisui smiled and walked forward. "No problem, I promise to satisfy you, Mr. Immortal." Shisui smiled like a spring breeze, and he walked up to Orochimaru. His pupils suddenly changed, showing special lines, and quickly rotated. "Be obedient to Mr. Immortal's control, Mr. Orochimaru." Pupil distinguished heavenly gods. A will pierced into the minds of Orochimaru and Kimimaro. The two were symbiotic, and their consciousness had also merged. Shisui's distinguished heavenly gods directly controls the consciousness of the two at once. Orochimaru didn't understand for a while what the other party was going to do. I only felt that there was a blank shock in my mind, as if something had been forcibly tampered with. Immediately after that, the scene in front of him went dark, and he passed out in a coma on the spot. Sarutobi Hiruzen and Namikaze Minato watched the show all the time, thinking about preparing for a fight, but Orochimaru fainted. What happened? Poros, break this barrier and start cutting leaks. Senju Chongsheng turned around and sat back in his position, ignoring the reaction of the two Hokages, smiled and picked up the fruit on the table to eat. At the same time, he said silently in his heart, "Pray for the protection of the sweet kiss of the goddess of luck, and be sure not to give me rubbish rewards." System. Sign in. Open black lens bracket ding. Trigger the Konoha collapse plot check-in. Congratulations on the check-in. 10 Tails Chakra. Close black lens bracket. Rumble. At the same time that Senju Chongsheng signed the reward, Poros had already punched the so-called enchantment. The purple enchantment fragments turned into chakra and scattered around, and Sarutobi Hiruzen immediately evacuated the civilians who had not escaped. Namikaze Minato threw kunai one after another, turned into a golden flash, and brought down several hostile ninjas one after another. Tsunade and others stood in place and didn't mean to do anything. They are waiting for Senju's next instructions. Not bad, 10 tails chakra. Doesn't it mean that my current amount of chakra can enter the 6 paths level at any time? Senju Chongsheng was surprised. After signing in for so many years, I finally got a useful reward. His chakra stayed in super cage level for too long, and he has not been able to break into the 6 paths level for a long time. Even his own cultivation level surpassed the existence of the 6 paths level. As a result, chakra has not broken into the 6 paths level, which is really embarrassing. This 10 tails chakra came very timely. It not only allowed Senju Chongsheng to enter the 6 paths level, but also formed a truth-seeking ball and a fairy robe. Wow! 10 tails chakra poured into the body from the invisibility, and Senju's body sitting on the chair was completely covered by a layer of white light. From the broken light, it gradually solidified into a set of white robes, with black jade patterns on the corners of the clothes. 10 black truth-seeking balls are suspended and condensed behind them, dark and shiny. Rumble. Senju Chongsheng's chakra skyrocketed and successfully reached the 6 paths level. Now he, relying on chakra energy alone, has reached the level of Sage of 6 paths. The whole body exudes chakra waves that are more advanced than others, just like a living immortal, with a suppressing effect. Shisui and the others couldn't help but move slightly, feeling incredible. Everyone was amazed by the changes in Senju's longevity. This is definitely a further manifestation of strength. Even if they don't know what kind of state it is, they can clearly feel the power of it. Huh? Why are you all looking at me? Go harvesting leeks? Senju Chongsheng didn't understand. These people all watched what they were doing, but they were fighting around. Konoha's affairs are almost handled. What are we going to do next? Tsunade asked Hinata aloud. After Hinata's game, she followed Tsunade, so she was well protected. It's finished, let's go back, and let Sanagakure bleed at that time. Senju Chongsheng smiled and stood up, and the immortal Taoist robe also retracted. You don't need to wear fairy robes in daily life. The role of this thing is to have a strong defense force, which is not necessary for Senju's longevity. It is truth-seeking ball that he likes very much. It can change various forms and manipulate it through thoughts. I've already told Namikaze Minato about Kisame joining Konoha. Then you can help with it. If Konoha disagrees, come and tell me. Senju Chongsheng said to Tsunade as he walked. Regarding Kisame joining Konoha, he would only talk to other senior Konoha once. If you dare to refute, then I believe Namikaze Minato will definitely make the most correct decision after thinking twice. Especially Uchiha Itachi, who just took back Susanoo outside, with the strength he just showed. It will definitely get the attention of everyone in Konoha's senior management. Thank you for reading this story at mtlarchive.com. Your support enables us to keep the site running. Chapter 104 Susanoo of Uchiha Itachi is presented to the world for the first time. As soon as he returned to Konoha, he appeared on the stage in a powerful way to suppress the tail beasts and rescued a large number of Konoha Village residents. From many perspectives, his performance today has won the hearts of the people. And Shisui's distinguished heavenly gods, when Orochimaru wakes up, it will definitely be called the focus of hot discussion in the ninja world. Finally, Hoshigaki Kisame joined. The high-level officials of Konoha Village held a meeting to discuss the matter of taking in the rebels, and the discussion was full of enthusiasm. The voice of opposition was very loud, just when they were about to reject the case. Namikaze Minato said directly, this might make Mr. Immortal angry. Then, there is no more. Hoshigaki Kisame officially became Konoha Shinobi, taking over the work of Enbu to protect the area of Senju Station. In the future, all matters concerning the handover with Senju Jonsei will be handed over to Hoshigaki Kisame. After returning home, Senju Chongsheng was free again. Although the Chunin exam was sabotaged midway, after Senju Chongsheng's proposal, he decided to complete the remaining few exams. Otherwise, Naruto and Sasuke will become 6 paths genin again. Portgas d'Ace. Mr. Immortal, this is the second fruit reward I offered. I'm really sorry that it took so long to find the second fruit. Portgas d'Ace. Red envelope. In the chat group, Ace, who had been diving for a long time, finally bubbling. A few years have passed in the Senju longevity world, but on the Ace side, it was only a few months. After receiving the red envelope, Senju Chongsheng responded, it doesn't matter, I don't have much demand for devil fruit, as long as I pay the reward, I will be satisfied. Portgas d'Ace. Ha ha ha, thanks to Mr. Immortal for his tolerance. In fact, we have never seen this fruit, but according to my father's knowledge, he said it is definitely an Udemon's fruit. Senju Chongsheng. Have a heart. Open black lens bracket ding. Get a devil fruit through the red envelope. Close black lens bracket. An unknown fruit is detected, do I need to analyze it? Close black lens bracket. Huh? Unknown fruits can still be analyzed? I didn't expect the system to have this kind of function. Analyze. System analysis. Open black lens bracket ding. Congratulations on obtaining devil fruit. Xuanwu fruit, close black lens bracket. Xuanwu. It's the most awesome tortoise fruit, it sounds so nice. Senju was speechless for a long time, but he was not disappointed either. Although Xuanwu is a tortoise, it is much stronger than a tortoise. Otherwise, how could it become in Udemons? By the way, I already have 2 devil fruits in my system space, should I use them for others? In fact, he can eat one more devil fruit, but he doesn't like the weakness of devil fruit. You know, ordinary devil fruit has a side effect, that is, fear of seawater. The shock fruit that Senju Chongsheng eats has no side effects. Not only is it not afraid of seawater, but even the restriction of not being able to eat the second devil fruit has been removed by the system. In other words, he can master 2 kinds of devil fruit. Forget it, I don't lack this ability anyway, just give it to Poros, he wants to become stronger. After thinking about it, I finally decided to give devil fruit to someone else. Poros is the best candidate, he is very eager to become stronger, and has even been immersed in the so-called becoming stronger. If one day suddenly discovers that he hasn't become stronger, I'm afraid he will collapse directly. But if you give Poros a devil fruit, then you have a new ability. As long as Poros practice hard, he will indeed become stronger. Senju Chongsheng greeted Kisame outside and asked him to find Poros. Soon, the helpful Poros came to Senju Chongsheng's home, still as respectful as before. Mr. Immortal, why are you looking for me? Poros sat down on his knees, hands on his knees. Senju Chongsheng smiled, made a cup of tea for him, and said, "It's not a big deal, but there is a chance to become stronger, but it depends on your own choice. If you choose the right one, that is the way to become stronger. If you choose the wrong one, you will have to work twice as hard to force yourself to become stronger. There are no garbage fruits in the sea, only garbage ability developers." Moreover, the 2 devil fruits in the hands of Senju Chongsheng are both very powerful fruits. The only question is whether the fruit that Poros chose would not be what he thought. After all, Poros is not Senju Chongsheng, he has never seen the pirate world, let alone the ability to develop the brain. If the selected fruit ability is different from what he thought, the development difficulty will be greatly increased. Become stronger. As long as I can be stronger, I will overcome no matter how difficult it is. As soon as he heard the word, become stronger, Poros fell into a frenzy. In that case, you can choose one of the fruits and eat it. Senju Chongsheng called out 2 devil fruits from the system space and placed them gently on the table. This is a mercury fruit, and the other is a basalt fruit. The abilities of the 2 are different. He pointed to the 2 fruits separately. As for their abilities, it depends on your own development. One is to make you a mercury, the other is to make you a wu. Well, Xuanwu. I almost said it was a tortoise. If Poros heard it, I'm afraid he would choose mercury fruit without hesitation. After all, it turned into a tortoise. The shape of his head was very resistant to Poros. Look at his killing matte haircut, and think about the tortoise haircut, it's too weird. Of course, it could also be a tortoise with hair. Is mercury and Xuanwu? The word Xuanwu is a bit strange to me. Can Mr. Immortal help me explain it? Poros knew what mercury was. He had seen it in the universe and in the ninja world. Xuanwu, it's a creature with very strong defense power, it can be called the strongest defense. That's it, I choose Xuanwu. As soon as Senju finished speaking, Poros couldn't wait to make a choice. The defense is the strongest, which is exactly what Poros desires. He has seen the defensive power of Saitama and Senju Jangsang, so powerful that he feels vast and terrified. Alright, but you have to rely on yourself for ability development or something. I don't have the intention of coaching you. Senju Chongsheng opened his mouth, and without paying attention to that much, he passed the Xuanwu fruit directly. Poros took it gratefully and took a bite. The disgusting smell almost made him vomit. But when he thought of eating this fruit to become stronger, he resisted the nausea and swallowed it abruptly. And at an astonishing speed, eat the remaining part. Senju Chongsheng's eyes widened suddenly, and after thinking about it, it's better not to say anything. Actually, devil fruit, just one bite is enough. Thank you for reading this story at mtlarchive.com. Your support enables us to keep the site running. Number 105 Chapter 105 After Poros finished eating the basalt fruit, his body also changed. The original sturdy body seemed to be a bit taller. How do you feel? Senju asked with a smile. Poros's face twitched slightly, and after taking a few deep breaths, he whispered. I feel like I have an extra transformation ability. He looked at his hands and immediately used devil fruit's power. Poros only felt that he was like a fortress bearing the tens of thousands of caddies, capable of resisting all damage. His hands also became sharper, as if they could easily tear the space. The powerful force made Poros almost lost himself, completely immersed in the feeling of this transformation. However, Senju Chongsheng and Tsunade on the side showed weird faces. Because behind Poros, a huge tortoise shell grew. Although not ugly, even as if carrying a heavy shield on his back, the process of transforming makes people feel a bit chilly. Because the shell of the tortoise grew out of Poros' back and then fell off into a shield. I don't know how this shield is recovered. Thank you for the power given by Mr. Immortal. I will go back and comprehend this brand new power. Poros bowed gratefully, his expression was very excited, and he couldn't wait to go back. Ha ha ha. As long as you like it, then you go back first. Senju smiled and nodded. After Poros left with excitement, Senju Chongsheng returned to the chat group again. Because just now, Yi Fan uploaded a new technique. Ding! Yi Fan uploaded a tornado of the Emperor Jinghua. Senju Chongsheng. Has the dragon transformed? It seems that the flow of time on your side is also quite fast. Yifan. Yes, and I found that the flow of time on my side seems to be getting faster and faster. Senju Chongsheng. If you are in danger, you can call me. Although your power system is very strong, for me, you can still deal with it. Yifan. Mr. Immortal is humble, your strength is on our side, I am afraid that even the Saint is not your opponent. Tony Stark. The arrival of Mr. Immortal is called a dimensionality reduction blow. Ainzel Christine. Is it a dimensionality reduction blow? Indeed it is. Seeing this, Senju Chongsheng smiled, and the two immortal blows came out again. Senju Chongsheng. It's been a long time since I saw Ains, your life seems to be going well. Ainzel Christine. Harm, don't talk about it, there have been a lot of trouble recently, and the guys in the Revolutionary Army have done a lot of things recently. Acedes. It's just a group of clowns. I will capture them all alive and give them to Mr. Immortal. Senju Chongsheng. Well, I don't need it anymore. If possible, control is the best method. If he remembers correctly, most of the people on the Revolutionary Army side seem to be girls. Ainzel Christine. It makes sense, my thoughts are consistent with Mr. Immortal. Beatrice. By the way, I recently came here with a guy with a clothing style similar to Tony's world. Tony Stark. Huh? Is it the hero of the ReZero world, Naoki Subaru passed through? Senju couldn't help but mutter. Beatrice's world can be said to be the European period of the Middle Ages. Kaiyu Subaru is a modern urbanite, and the clothes he wears can be said to be very eye-catching. Beatrice. Let me take a picture of you guys. This guy looks squinted. Picture. Among the photos she posted, it happened that Subaru was staring at Amelia and staring at her. It's no wonder she feels that Nague is squinting. Ainzel Christine. Is it a traverser? Does he also have the ability to traverse? Yifan. This kind of costume is indeed a modern city. If he also has the ability to cross, I am afraid he will be a strong one. Saitama. The strong? Beatrice. No, Saitama, don't get excited, this guy looks weak and pitiful, completely ordinary. Tony Stark. Does it have special abilities like Kirajiing? Beatrice. No, I can guarantee that. Senju Chongsheng. No, he has special abilities. At this moment, Senju Chongsheng suddenly interjected, and everyone couldn't help but raise their brows. Is it another character like Kirajiing? Kirajiing. He is also a stand-in messenger? Senju Chongsheng. No, the ability this person possesses is not about combat, but about rebirth. Beatrice. Rebirth? Portgas d'Ace. Ainzer Christine. Is it the resurrection? Senju Chongsheng explained to everyone. His ability to regenerate is to directly reshape the world, or to turn back time. Senju Chongsheng. As long as he is killed, time will flow backwards, just like the save point of the game. Senju Chongsheng. He has all the memories, but the people around him will forget all. Ainzer Christine. Save the game. I understand this. Tony Stark. I have played it too, but, is there really such a heaven-defying ability? Doesn't it mean that he is an immortal existence? Yifan. I would also like to know whether this time going backwards will make our world go backwards too? Senju Chongsheng. If my guess is correct, it shouldn't. If Kaei Subaru's ability to read files can really affect all planes of the world, wouldn't it be the ability to break planes? He believed that Subaru Naoki hadn't been heaven-defying to such an extent, at best, it would reverse Beatrice's world. Adding to the flow velocity of each plane, it is different now. Therefore, Senju Chongsheng firmly believes that Subaru can only reverse the world of ReZero. Beatrice. If you kill it, you will be reborn. It's a bit powerful. Wouldn't it be that after committing a crime and then committing suicide, you can do it again? Tony Stark. Huh? Is there such a good thing? Although I don't need to do this, I have a different kind of excitement. Beatrice. Tony, what are you talking about? Although I don't understand, I always feel like you are driving. Senju Chongsheng. Suspected car has no evidence. Ainzel Christine, ahem. Yifan. Why don't you go kill him once, Beatrice, let's see if the time on your side goes backwards. Yun Yun. I feel that Yifan has become a bit cruel. Tony Stark. This is a good idea, although a bit fierce. Beatrice. Forget it, as long as he doesn't do anything unusual, I don't care about him. How did he come to our world? Senju Chongsheng. Sometimes crossing does not necessarily require personal ability, and space disorder can also lead to crossing. Senju Chongsheng. Of course, the latter way of crossing is rare and almost impossible to exist. Beatrice. So that's it, by the way, there is one more thing. Beatrice. From now on, I will tell you the time every day. If you go back someday, remember to add it to me. It is better to be fully prepared, Mr. Immortal has said, this person has the ability to regenerate. Once he is born again, Beatrice's own memories will disappear and come back. No matter what I think, I feel a little uncomfortable inside. So as soon as time goes back, Beatrice will lock up the Pleiades of Naoki, or ask Mr. Immortal to send him back to her world. Thank you for reading this story at mtlarchive.com. Your support enables us to keep the site running. Chapter 106 9 Transformations of the Dragon Transformation, Heavenly Sovereign. Senju Chongsheng couldn't help feeling a little sympathetic when she saw Beatrice. Forget all the memories, and then do it again, this feeling is really uncomfortable. Senju Chongsheng. At Bai Kui Si, do you want me to come over and take a look and send that guy back for you directly? Beatrice. I also thought about it, but Miss Amelia cares about this guy, so I can't do other things. Senju Chongsheng. Or else, you can record your daily events and put them in a folder in the group. If the time goes back one day, at least you know what happened. Regarding Subaru's ability, what worries Beatrice the most is not knowing what happened. So as long as Beatrice records everything, there is no need to worry about this. The 10,000 Realms chat group is not affected by the power of Subaru Kaewi. Beatrice. It is indeed a feasible way, thanks to Mr. Immortal for your advice. She smiled slightly and almost forgot the video and upload function of the Wenji chat group. After quitting the group chat, Senju Chongsheng downloaded the exercises uploaded by Yifan and started the next round of practice. I hope that the Dragon Realm can help me immortal longevity and break through to the next realm. There are 9 changes in the dragon, and the 9 changes in the dragon make you look forward to the immortal in one fell swoop. The strongest one to transform the tornado is the Supreme Emperor's scripture. Senju Chongsheng sat cross-legged and began to circulate the aura according to the records of Huolongjuan. Spiritual energy surging between heaven and earth, like a sea of rivers and rivers, turning into a whirlpool. During the absorption, I can clearly feel that every cell in the body is growing vigorously. The part of Huolong training is the spine, from the tail vertebra to the cervical vertebra. When Zochin is complete, the dragon will appear in the spine. After sitting cross-legged for an unknown amount of time, Senju Chongsheng began to feel the tail vertebrae, a gleam of golden light glowing, full of surging aura. Rumble. At this moment, the sound of thunder sounded in the sky, the wind and clouds were surging, and the thunder light flickered. Senju Chongsheng had to stop practicing, looking at the dim sky, soared into the air and flew away from Konoha Village. This is thunder tribulation. Senju's longevity skill does not have thunder tribulation, but the cultivation system that covers the world has powerful thunder tribulation. Thunder tribulation is the barrier of heaven to mortals to cultivate immortality. Failure is death. But if you win, you will get an unimaginable backfeed. Senju's longevity cultivation system has never suffered from thunder, because his cultivation is too strong, covering the sky system. But now when it comes to the stage of transforming the dragon, what should come has always come. Senju Chongsheng found an uninhabited wasteland and once again tried his best to spur the tornado of the Emperor Jinghua. Rumble. The thunder symphony sounded again, the hurricane howled, and the vegetation swayed wildly in a radius of hundreds of miles. This area is at this moment, changing from day to night. All kinds of thunder lights flickered, like a god punishing him, wanting to destroy the world. Boom. Suddenly, a 100-meter thick blue lightning strikes down, pointing directly at Senju Chongsheng. The thunder and lightning collided with the aura shield, igniting a burst of thunder light wanton. The terrifying thunder and lightning made a crackling sound, which exploded the grassland into countless potholes. Rumble. A bolt of thunder and lightning fell, followed by thousands of thunder tribulations. The sound of thunder resounded across the sky, and this place was like purgatory on earth. Even the residents of Konoha Village far away can hear the echo of thunder coming from afar. Senju Chongsheng was intact, sitting cross-legged in the thunder, ignoring Lei Jia as if nothing was left. He was baptized over and over again by thunder robbery. Thunder and lightning bombarded the aura shield, exploding a large amount of aura, which was quickly absorbed by him. When Lei Jia dissipated, Senju Chongsheng's cultivation base also successfully entered the transformation of the dragon. He did not end there, still continuing to attack the realm behind. Just after the thunder tribulation, the world feeds back into Senju's body. The rich spiritual energy made him just step into the cultivation base of the transformation of the dragon, and directly reach the completion of the transformation, and began to attack the second transformation. Rumble. The thunder tribulation, which had not completely dissipated, began to condense again. The rain like thunder and lightning, with the bombardment of colorful thunder and down. All the vegetation in a radius of 100 miles is destroyed. The only creature in Baili was Senju Chongsheng alone, sitting alone in the thunder. The second transformation of Huolong, 3 changes in the dragon. 4 changes in the dragon. Senju Chongsheng sat on the spot, not moving for some time. While practicing while crossing the catastrophe, it is like opening up a paradise in hell without getting dusty. The surging spiritual energy was sucked into the body, and the backfeeding after Lei Jia made him unable to stop at all. Until the 9 transformations of the dragon, after 9 thunders and calamities. Fongyuan Baili has been hit by thunder and lightning and sank 20 meters. It is as if a creature is smeared with charcoal, and it is charred. And near where Senju Chongsheng sits, there is a pure land that has not been ravaged by any thunder. Even under the aura of aura, flowers and green scenes grew, exuding brilliant luster, and they looked beautiful and moving. Huolong 9 transformations, only 1 step away, you will be able to ascend to the immortal. Senju Chongsheng took a deep breath, a faint dragon shadow appeared in the spine, and the sound of dragon chants could be heard vaguely. His spine has completely turned into a golden dragon, as if it could carry him at any time, and board the fairy gate. Boom! At this moment, a loud noise suddenly rang from Senju's body. A kind of heaven and earth, like a bud emerging from its body, like the beginning of heaven and earth, blooming in chaos. Between the sky and the earth, it seemed to pause at this moment. Senju's longevity has been stagnated for so many years, and finally began to loosen up. The power of heaven and earth was born from him, and he can clearly feel that everything in the world is under his control. Heavenly realm. To control the power of heaven and earth and to condense one's own Taoism is to step into the standard of immortality. Today's Senju Chongsheng, even if the body is blown by someone, it can be restored to its intact state of heyday in a few breaths. This is the ability of the immortal longevity Kungfu. It is not the strongest combat power, but it is the strongest survivability. To kill Senju in this state, no one can do it with the plain world in the chat group. Unless it is the hidden immortal emperor in the world of Zishan. Finally broke into Tianjin. The further you go, the more difficult it is to improve your cultivation level. It seems that you have to go to other worlds to sign in. Senju took a long breath and got up slowly. Move your muscles and bones a few times and make a string of crisp noises. The strength of the members of the 10,000 Realms chat group is not high, but it may not be the future. As long as Senju Chongsheng has not reached the strongest state, he dare not relax. Once the chat group activity reaches the standard and upgrades, it is very likely that various characters will come in. If it is an anime character, it's okay to say, in case there is a mighty power in the world of other novels, or even a fairy god in the prehistoric world. The status of Senju's longevity may plummet. In order to be able to always let the group members work for him, and respect from the heart. Senju Chongsheng can only keep getting stronger, stronger, and stronger again. Thank you for reading this story at mtlarchive.com. Your support enables us to keep the site running.